Aloha and welcome everyone to today's presentation. It's about NIBIRU. So I have an interesting perspective and for some of you, a brand new theory about NIBIRU. So we're going to kick things off here in just a second, and I'm going to jump into the chat. My microphone wasn't working earlier, so this is like a brand new presentation we just started. So you won't find the original one because it's just me trying to figure out the volume. So, welcome to everybody who's live in the chat. I see you all right now. I've got the chat pulled up right here in front of me. I will be asking some questions in the chat, and I will ask everyone keep on topic if you're going to get my attention. Otherwise, I don't really, mind if you guys have side chat in the chat or whatever. But if you get my attention, let's stay on topic, which is NIBIRU, the Anunnaki, the planet of the crossing, etc., and so on and so forth. So let's start things off by I'd like to ask everybody in the chat, who has heard of this concept of NIBIRU, either as a place or a planet or whatnot, and who has not? I was just wondering. I just want to kind of take a quick toll in the chat. Excuse me. I'd like to know who has heard of NIBIRU and who has not. We're going to break it down simply and build some bridges from not knowing anything about it at all to getting a glimpse of what the mainstream theories on this concept are. All the way to my island, where I live, my perspective, and my theory about the planet NIBIRU. Blake, 1991! Oh, man. Thank you so much, Blake, for the two other super chats and for that one. I super appreciate you. All right, cool. So I've got my chat all pulled up here. Looks like some people have heard a little bit, looks like, some people have at least heard of the concept of NIBIRU. That's kind of what I was hoping for. I was hoping for a lot of yeses, or, I've heard a little bit about it or something. So let's start off laying a foundation. All right. So the concept of NIBIRU, in basically the modern concept or the more accepted fringe theory about NIBIRU is that NIBIRU is this planet. It's sometimes known as the 12th planet. And that it's this mysterious, huge, Jupiter-sized, gigantic planet that has an elliptical orbit. So it comes into our solar system once approximately every 3,600 years, and then it does sort of a drive-by on Earth and sweeps right past Earth. Oh, let me check my audio. I hope my audio is good. Okay, yeah, we're good. Okay. Anyway, so it nearly crashes into Earth is the story, basically. It gets really close and causes a lot of apocalyptic damage and brings about various apocalyptic scenarios, as well as the arrival of these extraterrestrial beings that sort of like use it as a taxi service to jump on down into our world. And then, then we get the Anunnaki story and aliens and stuff like that. So good. I'm glad that we've got a basic concept of it. Now, a lot of the translations, the story actually originates from the Enuma Elish, ancient Mesopotamian, Babylonian, Sumerian area clay tablets that were found that basically are sort of an alternative parallel to the book of Genesis or many other creation myths and stories and legends. This one comes from the Middle East, and it talks about these beings called the Anunnaki. And it's been commonly translated as those beings who came down from above, or came down from Anu, or the god of the heavens, etc., and landed here on what used to be known as Ki, or Earth. And it's said that they lived on a planet of their own called NIBIRU. Now, that word NIBIRU was translated, and it was interpreted by the person who translated these tablets, most commonly Zecharia Sitchin. He's the one who most people quote, who translated these cuneiform script or glyphs on these clay tablets, right? So anyway, Zecharia Sitchin talks about how he believed that when this place, it was known as a place of crossing. And I'm going to show you, we're going to break down the word NIBIRU in full, but it was called the place of the crossing. So he assumed because they came from above, or from space or whatnot, that they came from a planet of the crossing. And so NIBIRU has had this stigma that it's a planet, that and it's very much what happens, like this whole concept of NIBIRU is very much what happens whenever we mix, right, old cosmologies and old teachings and old stories and legendary myths of old and histories and stuff, forgotten histories or hidden histories, with modern scientific thought, or modern academics more specifically, and modern cosmology as well. It's difficult to reconcile the two. It's not impossible, but it's difficult. We are going to reconcile the two in this presentation today. So Nibiru, the 12th planet, mysterious planet that occasionally, according to Zechariah Sitchin's translations, makes an appearance in our sky approximately every 3,600 years. And with it comes cataclysms and destruction, and also the arrival of a gigantic race of extraterrestrials or beings or humanoids or gods or angels or whatever you like to see them as, right? Visitors from somewhere else come along with this appearance of this object in the sky. So let's take a look. I want to jump in here and take a look. Let me ask the chat. What exactly have you heard of Nibiru? Just throw out anything in the chat. I'll put your comments on the screen. I'd like to know, like, let's build some notes for people who are new. Let's start from the ground floor. Tell me something about Nibiru that we haven't covered already, or that we have. That's fine too. Welcome to my channel. I didn't see who that was, Stellar or something, but welcome. Just go ahead and toss your ideas in the chat. What have you heard? Describe Nibiru. Describe anything about it. Let's put all of our descriptions together, and that way we form our own little comparative mythology right here. I want to know the rumors. I want to know the scuttlebutt. I want to know what people are saying. I want to know what sticks in people's minds. That's what I'd like to know, and then we'll go from there. Kimberly, thank you so much for helping out in the chat. Let me looks like I got to copy and paste the chat real quick, and then I'll get to your responses. All right, cool. All right, I should be able to put them up there now. Yep. All right, so for example, Kimberly put, please type in @JayDreamerZ before your comment. That is super helpful. That way I know that I can differentiate between the internal dialogue of the chat and those who are actually trying to speak to me. Also, I will ask everyone to stay on topic, just as I asked before, if you're trying to get my attention during the live stream. All right, cool. So I'm jumping in right now. Wormwood. I like that one, actually. So wormwood from the Bible. In the Bible, in the book of Revelation, it mentions that there's this star that falls from the sky, or this great mountain or whatnot, and it's called wormwood, which means it can be translated as poisonous or toxic or sour, basically, right? It turns the waters sour or undrinkable. Or salty, you could say, just like the oceans are. Their oceans are basically wormwood. All right, let's see. We got Doctor Who. Maniel says the planet of the crossing. Very good. Planet X, the dark planet. I like it. Very good. Nephilim riding on Nibiru from NJ Shore. Yes, very good. Very good. Orphic Metamorphic says, to me, reminds me of the original sovereign people of Australia. Okay. We got Shantae, who says it's going to kill us all. Ha ha ha. Well, you laugh. You laugh, but I got, you may be in for a little surprise. The joke may be on us. All right. Heather Kinzer says, JayDreamerZ, Planet X. That comes into our atmosphere, a giant. So very good. How about what color is Nibiru? Have you heard about, what color it's supposed to be? Kim B jumps in and says, JayDreamerZ, the planet of the crossing, Planet X, has iron oxide atmosphere. Very good. And appears to have wings. Very good as well. I like that. So these are all really good. Let's put these together. So what color would iron oxide equate to? Let's see. I'm just skimming through the chat. I am looking for the ones that have my name highlighted here. We got a portal planet. Linda says a portal planet. I like that. Very good. Causes pole shift. Coriander says it causes a pole shift. What's up, Zulu1? I see you. All right, cool. Well, that's good enough for me. So let me go ahead and let's jump into today's presentation. All right, let's see. I'm going to start off by doing some screen sharing for POW. All right. Hey, it's me, Ms. V. Just gave me $20 personally. Thank you so very much. Wow. Like I use those donations for things I need in my life. Thank you. She says, I love the topic, but I'm at work and I'll watch later. Okay, cool. Well, it's good to have you, and thank you so much for your support. All right, cool. Let's jump right in. So what I'm sharing with you now is there are many ancient carvings and depictions throughout Mesopotamia, ancient Babylon, Sumeria, and those Middle Eastern regions, as well as the rest of the world, that show us a depiction of history that is confusing to us today. Or I say us, but I mean like most of the world collectively, right? So we see these types of images, and we oftentimes will internalize them, or we will just chalk it up to the ancients had no idea what they were doing. They were high. They went down into the caves. They got high off of gases or smoked peyote or whatever. And they just did weird rock carvings and strange symbols. And that none of this really makes any sense. And it's all allegorical. It's all a metaphor. None of this physically actually happened. That's what modern academics will teach us. Let me make this a little bigger here. So, for example, right here, they have drawn out these 3 tiny people or beings, right? Clearly in front of a gigantic one. So either these are 3 tiny ones, and this is us, regular size today, or this is us, regular size today, and these are not the only options. This could be us, and this is a giant that's sitting in a giant throne, right? And then we have this strange circular object resting on this sort of Ionian-looking Greek top of a pillar or something like this, like a fountain or something, right? And then there's this object right here being held up by this guy on the top. And then there's various symbols. You can see the moon and what people commonly would refer to as the sun, or sun-like symbols or star-like symbols up here. But whenever people read into these, unfortunately, they're dismissed. They're just dismissed altogether. They're like fairy tales. People don't believe that these are accurate representations of history, of things that our ancient ancestors witnessed and were a part of. So, let's talk about what we see here. This is a depiction of, I believe, and this is all going to be from my own my own studies and research, but this right here represents NIBIRU. This represents the star of Marduk. Marduk was one of these Anunnaki gods. You can always tell that they're Anunnaki because they have these Phrygian hats, or Smurf caps, if you like the Smurfs, that have horns on them, right? Coming off of the side, branching off of the side here. So for example, if you count these horns up, you can see that there's 1, 2, 3, 4. I could probably make that bigger for us. Let's check it out. All right, so check this out. Boom, we got one, 2, 3, 4 horns right here. And that equates, each one of those is worth 10. So this god that wears this type of a hat or crown, which is what it is, represents the number 40. That is their place in the hierarchy of these particular beings, right? They have a sort of, what do they call that in the military? Chain of command. Okay, so this is the chain of command. The highest on the Anunnaki chain of command is 60, so 6 horns. That would be Anu. Second highest is Enlil, which is 50, or 5 rows of horns. And then this one right here is 40, so this represents Enki, also known as Yah. You could spell that Y-A-H, you could spell that E-A. There's various ways to spell that. So this god Enki sits upon this throne, which is being held up by these pillars. Take note of that. All of this is exactly, okay, what this is, like, I don't even know where to start on this type of stuff, so I hope I do a good job. What this is this is a riddle, essentially. Okay? This has fallen through time to us in the future, or in the now, to interpret what they were trying to show us, what message they were trying to give to us, which is why I like studying language and ancient glyphs and picture forms so much. This is a message. This is not just a little flash photo of something that had happened in the past. This is a message. All of these pictures provide context for that message, right? And if you watch my Plasma Apocalypse series and my Ancient Oblivion series, you will get a lot of the tools to be able to decode all of these various types of pictures and symbols and stuff that you see all over these types of glyphs. You can become a type of Indiana Jones, or, whatever you want to call it. Somebody that looks into the past, or whatnot. Historic librarian, I don't know what to call it. But anyways. All right, so let's see. So this right here in the middle is NIBIRU. Hold up, I got a question in the chat. Louis Martinez says, JayDreamerZ, are those circles frequency imagery? I'm not sure which circles you're referring to. If you're referring to this right here, I'm about to explain it. This is NIBIRU. So I'm going to go with, I'll explain it to you, okay? So let's see. We got Nabia Yahubat says, JayDreamerZ, Enlil is the man's of the NOAA map used to measure plasma waves from the sun. Is the man? I have no idea what you're saying. I'm sorry. And I'm just gonna kind of, you know, I'm gonna scooch over here to the picture for a second. Yeah, it's easier for me if I understand what you're trying to say. So do your best, I guess. So back to this picture right here. See how there's a circle and then there's an inner circle right there in the middle. And then there's what look like rays coming out in the form of a cross, right? See these direct rays? These are different from these wavy lines on the insides of it, okay? And oftentimes this god over here, Enki, is depicted as having these exact wavy lines flowing out from him or whatever, right? That's why he holds this rod and this circle here. But anyways, these wavy lines, just to get to the point, are plasma, and these direct lines are the light that comes out and that is emitted from this eyeball in the sky, or this star in the sky, or this planet in the sky, however people would like to see that. All right, now let's just jump over to another depiction of it. Here's another one. So over here, we've got the Anunnaki gods, one on each side. You can see this is not the best drawing. Sorry about that. And in the middle, they've depicted NIBIRU, or what people interpret as the 12th planet. So as you can see here, they've counted up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, right there in the middle, right? So we've been taught that there are 9 planets. Depending on how you look at that, some people include Pluto, some people do not include Pluto. I'm going to include Pluto. There's 9 planets, plus there's the sun and the moon. And when I say planet, I mean heavenly lights in the sky, or luminaries. The sun and the moon, and then of course the 12th planet, NIBIRU, right there in the middle. Now, NIBIRU is said to be the crux on which all of these other planets hang. And I chose those words purposefully, and I'll show you why. So NIBIRU is said to be at the middle of our sky, basically at a fixed position in the sky, and all of the other luminaries, the stars and the sun and the moon and the planets, all rotate around this central star, this star of Marduk, as sometimes it's also referred to as. All right, here's another depiction. This one's classic. You've got right here is the tree of life. That's what this is. There's a column. You can see it's represented by a column or a pillar or a rod or a beam, etc. It's got these little instabilities or fruit that branch off of it because this pillar is plasma, and that plasma interacts with the torus field that it creates for itself, and it also interacts with our own atmosphere, and it creates these little toroidal fields, these little mini ones, these little instabilities, just like you would expect created in a stream and a river. Right? It creates these little swirls off to the side. These are seen as the fruit of the tree of life. So this tree of light shoots up, it branches out at the top, it emanates plasma or auras off to the side of it, all over the place, creating a burning bush type of a look. And then always, or usually, you can find right above the tree of life, or that pillar, that rod, that world axis, you can find a circle. Almost always. That circle represents NIBIRU. That circle represents the planet of the crossing, as it's commonly known. And that's why they have a little guy in there who's coming out of it. Now, it's also the moon. Okay, so I'll get to that in a bit when I start drawing stuff for everybody. And you see it's got the wings on either side. That's because this plasma shoots up and it branches around that circle at the top, and it splits into a Y shape, or the ancient Vav. And of course, it feathers out as well, so you get this bird, this phoenix, this bird in the sky, etc. But at the very top, there's a circle. And most people in the modern world, we've been taught that when we see a circular object in the sky, or a luminary that's circular in shape, that it's somehow it's three-dimensional and that it's a sphere every time. However, if you think about it, that is perspective, right? That's one perspective, and that's one possibility. It could be a sphere, but it could be many different circular types of shapes, right? It doesn't have to be spherical in nature and independent and not attached to anything or a part of anything else. Quace, hey, thank you, Quace. Where is the chat? Oh, I wasn't even caught up. Quace jumped in and said, thank you for sharing your knowledge. You're welcome. This is, I mean, I don't even know anything. This is not my knowledge. You're super welcome. But this is just my walk. This is just, you know what I mean? I don't know anything. This is just my perspective and research. But I know what you mean. It's easier to say it that way. So I just say thank you. All right, let's jump back in here. Thanks again, Quace. All right. So, anyways, let's get to NIBIRU. Okay. So let's go to Wikipedia just to get a general idea here. And it says NIBIRU, also translated NIBIRU or NIBIRU, is a term in the Akkadian language. This Akkadian, by the way, this is where the root of academics. So that's something to study or ponder on if you haven't already. It's a term in the Akkadian language translating to crossing. Okay, interesting. As in like to cross over something like a bridge or a portal. Or it can also be translated as point of transition. Well, that's also very interesting, right? So far, are you getting planet out of any of this? I'm not. Like, I'm getting door or Stargate or portal or something, but not planet. And then it goes on to say, especially the crossing of rivers. This is where things start to get interesting, right? NIBIRU, especially, according to Wikipedia at the very least, implies a point of transition or a crossing, especially of rivers crossing, or river crossings or ferry boats, etc. This whole ferry thing gets pretty deep if you study ancient Greek and Roman mythology and other mythologies of the ferryman, right? All right, cool. While the nature of the crossing in astronomy has long been a source of confusion, let me highlight that word, confusion in scholarly and popular opinion. They're confused. Excellent. Good. I'm glad we can admit that. All right, cool. So basically it means place of the crossing. Let's break it down. All right. So let me get to, let me take this off. I just want to use my back screen real quick. All right, cool. Now here's the spelling. It kind of fades into the background there. I did that because I like it. But you can see it's NIBIRU. Okay, so I'm going to break this down. I can't really point to it, but starting on the far left over there with the letter N, that's a prefix. Okay, the letter N in ancient languages was a little squiggly glyph that looks like a snake or semen or sperm or whatever, or a tadpole, you could say, or it looks like plasma that's streaming through the sky, right? And it meant life. That was its main meaning, was life. Okay, so life. And then this next part, IBIR, okay? So I'm just going to save you the hassle of having to look it up, but you can, and I recommend you do. It comes from an ancient Hebrew word, ibr, or eber. There's different pronunciations. It's not super important as long as you understand the original meaning. It meant to cross over, to transition, okay? Some people would even say transition from a place of death to a place of life, or to cross over, to be a Hebrew, which is where that word comes from. That's where the word Hebrew comes from. It comes from Ibr. So life, crossover, like basketball. That's funny. Life, crossover, and then the U at the end. That's the ancient Vav, which is a connector, which just means of the or and, or connected to, right? So it could mean life crosses over, or the place where, or of the place where life crosses over. Okay, so this is a portal. This is, the description of it implies a gate, a door, a portal, a place of transition, right? A liminal space, something in between two different places or worlds. All right, let me jump back into the chat here. We got Kim B, who says, JayDreamerZ can only be seen by infrared telescope, allegedly why the Pope made the telescope Lucifer. Okay, that's interesting. I've not heard of that. That's pretty interesting, though. All right, so let's see what else we got. Louis Martinez jumps in the chat and says, JayDreamerZ, still in topic. There's a news article that states Firefly space station sent a rocket that caused a fracture in the ozone that left a ring, and it's struggling to close. Okay, interesting. Thank you for sharing that. All right, so let's continue on with this presentation. Oh, hold on. Tony Peterson asks, could the vowels be interchanged with NIBIRU? Yeah, they could be. So you'll have to study this, okay? Because I don't want to give you a definite answer because there's exceptions to the rule. But what we call vowels today are just mostly empty filler. They're vowels in order to force a dialect, right? However, there are ancient forms of vowels that are vowel forms that are not really replaceable. That one's hard to explain. I highly recommend checking out my video that I did on the Phoenician alphabet. Okay, that breaks it down in great detail. All right, cool. Let's continue on. So NIBIRU, the place of the crossing, especially of rivers. So if we read about, let me bring this back up here. If we read about the role of NIBIRU in Babylonian cosmology, it says here that NIBIRU was considered the seat or the throne of Sumus Dios, who shepherds the stars like sheep. In Babylon, identified with Marduk. And then of Marduk, it's we get here. Where did it go? Marduk was a god from ancient Mesopotamia and a patron deity of the city of Babylon, who eventually rose to become the king of the gods in the first millennium. It was the city of Babylon. Marduk was worshipped in the temple of Esagila. His symbol is the spade, and he's associated with, and so on and so forth. All right. So NIBIRU was considered the seat of this particular god, who shepherds the stars like sheep. So this figure stands in the middle and the stars revolve around it. The establishment of the NIBIRU point is described in Tablet 5 of the creation epic known as the Enuma Elish, when Marduk fixed the locations of NIBIRU, Enlil, and Yah in the sky. So from this, what I get is that all three of those, NIBIRU, Enlil, and the god known as Yah or Enki, were cosmic figures or terrestrial figures that were fixed in place. That these were not beings that just flew around and traveled the world and things like that, how we do, because they are cartoonified gods. They were not, this is from my perspective, but they were not physical humans like us or humanoids like us, but they were cosmic phenomena and terrestrial phenomena, things that people did not understand. And so they personified them. They cartoonified them. They projected themselves upon them, basically. The Enuma Elish states that NIBIRU is Marduk's star, which he made appear in the heavens. Okay, cool. So from the direct tablets, we have that NIBIRU is a star which appeared in the sky. Okay, nowhere in here does it say it's a planet quite yet. Okay, and I'm gonna hit home pretty heavily on that. If you believe NIBIRU is a planet, that's okay. Okay, that's totally fine. I'm just sharing my perspective with you. Okay, I don't believe that it was a planet at all, because I don't believe in planets. Like, I know that's hard to explain, but I believe in realms where we live. These types of realms. Anyways, it goes on to say, NIBIRU is Marduk's star, which he made appear in the heavens. The stars of heaven, let him, NIBIRU, set their course. So let NIBIRU set the course of the stars in the heavens. Let him shepherd all of the gods like sheep, or to watch over, right? Like the all-seeing eye watching down from above. NIBIRU is described more closely on a complete cuneiform tablet, and it says, NIBIRU, which is said to have occupied the passageways of heaven and earth. Sounds like a transitional state to me. Because everyone above and below asks NIBIRU if they cannot find the passage. So automatically we're getting a sort of North Star vibe, right? That's what sailors use to navigate and to orient themselves, is they find the North Star. I mean, they can find many stars and orient themselves, but the North one is the true one because it doesn't move that much. NIBIRU is Marduk's star, which the gods in heaven caused to be visible. Okay, so this is very interesting. We're getting this whole change of atmosphere vibe. Okay, our atmospheric conditions and therefore the optics in our heavens changed. So we saw things in the heavens differently than we do today. And there have been many crossovers, many changes like this, or polarity shifts, you could say. NIBIRU stands as a post at the turning point. That's called the axis mundi. That is the center of the world. In the old cosmology, in the old ways, it would be at the center of the North Pole, if it's terrestrial, or it would be at the apex of the dome above, or the firmament above, if it is cosmic or heavenly. The others say of NIBIRU, the post, the one who crosses the middle of the sea, Tiamat, without calm, May his name be Nibiru, for he takes up to the center of it. The center of it. Tiamat. This is talking about the waters, and the Bible mentions the waters above. So in these ancient creation epics, when they described the creation of all of these elements, waters and earth upheavals and things like that, they described them quite often, I have found, as cartoonified comics, like a comic book. So they gave, let's say there's a huge tidal wave that rises up, right? Instead of saying there was a huge tidal wave of ocean water that rose up because this occurred, they would give it a name, right? Or a descriptor. So let's say, I don't know, let's call it Titan wave or whatever. The god Titan wave stood up from his normal position laying down and threw a super punch at, you know what I mean? Like, this is how they described it. And you have to keep in mind, some things they might not have been aware of. Other things they may have been aware of, but they lacked the ability at the time to properly convey it to the rest of those people who lived during that time, who had no idea what they were talking about, right? Just like many of the prophets of old who have been taken down into the inner regions of our world or up into the heavens, and how they describe these things, or even those prophets who were given visions of the future. It may be that they didn't have themselves the correct words to describe what they saw, or they did have the correct words, but they were trying to convey it to people who didn't. So they had to use common language and common descriptions, and the easiest way to do this was to cartoonify it, was to personalize it and turn these events into people so that people can relate to it, so they can understand it a little better. All right, let's see here. Where were we? Nibiru is Marduk's star. So that's another thing too. It's called the star. This is not known as a planet in the ancient descriptions. Not that I've come across so far. Okay, not a planet, not a heavenly body that's reflecting the light of the sun or anything like that. Okay, it's not a big round ball, spherical ball of dirt or glob or whatever. It's none of that. This is a star. It's a light that is seen in the sky, and this light is a place of transition, a place of transition between our realm, Earth, and what lies beyond through our heavens or through our sky, going up, high enough, right? And taking us into what lies beyond our sky, to other realms out there. The one who crosses the middle of the sea. Oh, the waters above. So I talk about the dome or the firmament being made out of water, basically, or ice. He takes up the center of it. So here's a position, right? So we've got a position for this planet of the crossing, Nibiru. The path of the stars of the sky should be kept unchanged. Let's see what else we got here. For example, the star of Yah. Here we go again. Here's another reference to Yah. As you can see there, it shows Enki with these flowing waves coming off of him, right? Was described at various revelation spots, including Vela, Formalhaut, and Venus. Let's see what else we got. Star of the gods. Okay. So Nibiru is a star of the gods. It goes on to identify Nibiru with Jupiter as well. Now I'm going to show you that Nibiru, this circle up there in the sky, is related to every single name for every single one of the planets that we now are familiar with. Okay. They're just different epithets for the same spot, basically. They're renamed after their father, you could say. All right. This says, when the stars of Enlil have been finished, one big star, although its light is dim, divides the sky in half and stands there. That is the star of Marduk, Nibiru, Jupiter. It keeps changing its position and crosses the sky. It's an interesting description as well, because it's, on one hand, it's said to be fixed. On another hand, it talks about crossing the sky. So I have an interpretation of that. I don't want to get too far off topic, though. But basically, if you see here, we have a correlation between Nibiru being called the star of Marduk, not a realm, not a planet, not anything like that, a passageway. Nibiru, Jupiter, boom, here's another one, Jupiter, right? Or Father Pater, Jew, or Yah, basically, or Yahweh, or Enki, etc., and so on and so forth. Let's see. Oh, and then conversely, there's tablets that refer to Nibiru as Mercury as well. Mercury being a red planet dividing the sky and stands there. Its name is Nibiru. So they also correlate Mercury with the planet Nibiru, the messenger of the gods. So there's a lot of parts to this, but we're going to move on so that now we have like a good understanding. Now, what I would like to share with you is that Nibiru, let me get back to a picture here. Nibiru is called the place of the crossing, right? Or where life crosses over, or of the place of the crossing over, right? So this was a portal. It was a star. It was a hole. A black hole, you could call it a black hole, even though it's seen as being red. Traditionally, Nibiru is described as being a red planet, okay? It is a luminary of sorts. It is a light source up there in the heavens that appears from time to time, cyclically. And when it appears, it very well may be that it has a cross on it, that there is a circular shape with a little mini circular shape in the middle of it, and that it has an actual cross on it. We have had this appear in our skies many different times, and this is an omen and a harbinger. This could be seen as the Great Comet. This could be seen as many different things, but it is the sign of the cross in the sky. Sometimes this sign is seen in the moon. There's good reason for that. Sometimes this sign is seen in the sun. Also good reason for that. We're going to check out some different examples here. Now, let me show you an example from the year 806 AD. So this is during the Dark Ages. And they believe it or not, we do have access to writings from the Dark Ages, to history from the Dark Ages and whatnot, and it's very telling, the things that we find, especially the anomalies that we find. This is one of my favorite historical records to go over when it comes to learning about the Dark Ages. It's called the Saxon Chronicles, or the Anglo-Saxon Chronicles. And this is a history that was taken up collectively. Somebody went from monastery to monastery collecting their own individual histories and compiled them and compared them to make one big Anglo-Saxon chronology, basically, that expands all the way throughout the Middle Ages and beyond. So in the year AD 806, it says that in this year, the moon eclipsed on the 1st of September. Erdwulf, king of the Northumbrians, was banished from his dominions, and Einbert, bishop of Hexham, departed his life. This year also, on the next day, before the nones of June, a cross was seen in the moon. On a Wednesday, at the dawn, and afterwards, during the same year, on the 3rd day before the calends of September, a wonderful circle was displayed about the sun. So this is when people have seen this cross up in the heavens, up in the sky. And Nibiru is directly related because it is the planet of the cross, or the planet of the crossing, or the circle in the sky. I don't really like to call it a planet, but the luminary that is seen in the sky, gigantic in form, that has and is always depicted as having a type of cross associated with it. And for example, sometimes it's like a bird cross behind it or whatever, but oftentimes it has a cross depicted with it. So that was from the year 806. Many people saw a cross in the moon. So the moon being circular and then a cross in the middle. Here we have another account. This one's more popular. This is Emperor Constantine in the year 312 AD. So for those of you who don't know the famous story about what Constantine saw in the sky, Constantine, just to catch you up real quick, Constantine was one of the most famous things that he was popular for was for coming to power in the Mediterranean area, and gathering together all of the predominant religious figures at the time, and forming a type of council to sort of put their minds together, because many of them were already called Christians or believers, and they saw that many of their belief systems had similarities. So he called them all together to sort of make an official story to merge them into one belief system instead of having so many differing stories and whatnot, right? That was called the Council of Nicaea, one of many councils that was brought forth by Constantine and others before and after him. And it says here, in the spring of 312 AD, Constantine the Great. was leading his men en route to Milvian Bridge outside of Rome, where a battle would take place the next day. That evening, Constantine had a vision of a cross in the sky above the sun. He stated, "I saw a trophy of a cross in light in the heavens, bearing the inscription, 'Conquer by this.'" He and his men were struck with amazement, and his whole army reportedly saw this sign as well. He then directed his men to mark their shields with the letter X. So they're round shields with an X in the middle of it, with a perpendicular line drawn through it and turned round at the top, being a symbol of the Christ, XP, or Chi, or He, and Rho. The X and the P were Greek letters. Here's an example, as you can see on their shields, right? So what we have here is the circular form of the shield, and then the X from NIBIRU, basically, right there in the middle of it, and then there was a picture of a sword. That's what they say that this is, a picture of a sword, which meant to conquer in this sign, which is the Tet. If you look at the ancient languages, that's the 9th letter, which is Tet in Phoenician and in ancient Hebrew, or Paleo-Hebrew. And they would put a sword on top of it, meaning to conquer in this sign, the circle with the X, or the Tet, right? So this was not some dream that Constantine had. They say that he had a dream of it as well, or they had a vision of it, but this was a historic record that's mentioned by a couple of different historians, where it says that his entire army saw this. They all stopped in the middle of the day and looked up and wondered at the sky, and they took it as a sign, as well they should have. So there's another example of a cross. I want to talk about this trophy. He said that he saw a trophy of a cross. You see that? He saw a trophy of a cross in light in the heavens. That means in our sky, and there was an inscription on it. So let's look up this word trophy. Now, if you look it up, the Latin, which is probably what he spoke, and you go to the Proto-Indo-European root, trophy comes from trep. And the Proto-Indo-European root of that means to turn. So it was something celestial, some light in the sky that we could interpret that as this cross was turning or moving in the sky, basically. All right, now here's another account on which people saw a cross in the sky, oftentimes within a circle. The tale on which such icons are based is found in Book 4, Chapter 5 of Sozomen's Ecclesiastical History. And Sozomen says in his Ecclesiastical History, at the time that Cyril administered the Church of Jerusalem after Maximus, the sign of the cross appeared in the heavens. It shone brilliantly, not with divergent rays like a comet, but with the concentration of a great deal of light, apparently dense and yet transparent, like plasma. Its length was about 15 stadia, almost 2 miles, from Calvary to the Mount of Olives. So there's some symbolism in there as well. I basically will refer you to a map that shows that. And its breadth was in proportion to its length. So this cross was not a cruciform that we normally see associated in the Catholic Church with Jesus hanging on it and stuff, where it's a very long stick and a short crossbeam. This was an equal cross, or an X, usually with the circle around it, right? Like the X-Men logo, basically. So its breadth was in proportion to its length, so it was equal on all sides. So extraordinary a phenomenon excited universal terror. People saw this in the sky and they started going nuts. And this was, when was this? I'll have to look for a date on this in just a second. Men, women, and children left their houses, the marketplace, or their respective employments, and ran to the church, where they sang hymns to Christ together and voluntarily confessed their belief in God. The report disturbed in no little measure our entire dominions, and this happened rapidly. For, as the custom was, there were travelers from every part of the world, so to speak, who were dwelling at Jerusalem for prayer. So this was during a holy time. Or to visit its places of interest. These were spectators of the sign, and divulged the facts to their friends at home. The emperor was made acquainted with the occurrence, partly by numerous reports concerning it, which were then current, and partly by a letter from Cyril the bishop. It was said that this prodigy was a fulfillment of an ancient prophecy contained in the Holy Scriptures. It was the means of the conversion of many pagans and Jews to Christianity. So, this was seen up in the sky. I think I do have a date here. 351 AD. May 7th, 351. So on this particular date, it is recorded in history that people saw the sign of the cross, an equilateral cross, however you want to call that, up in the heavens, a bright light that formed a cross, and people wondered at it, and people ran to church. People thought it was the end of the world. People were asking God for forgiveness. People were asking God to be gracious, and they knew that this was a huge event, right? Something that did not happen normally. And this is the biblical quote that they're referring to, Matthew 24:30 in the New Testament. It says, and then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then shall all of the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. So this is a prophecy, basically, of what people will see, according to the New Testament in the Bible, before the events of the book of Revelation, or around the exact same time, before the apocalypse, basically, or during the apocalypse. People will see this sign in the sky, which is the form of a cross. The cross in the sky is said to have shimmered in the colors of the rainbow, and to have caused many of those seeing it in fear and amazement to convert and be baptized. So there's another interesting account. And then it also gets into the Constantine account that we just shared. Let's see, I'm just scanning just to make sure I didn't miss anything in this particular article. It does go into sundogs. So many people believe that this is in reference to a sundog. Let me go ahead and share this with you here. How do I share this? Replay, boom. All right, cool. So here's an example of a sundog. I do have this video on my channel somewhere. Many people say that this is basically what they believe that was seen in the sky. And as you can see here, it fits the description pretty dang good, right? Doesn't it? Well, there's a reason for this, right? There's a reason why there's this gigantic, massive, planet-sized circle, dark circle or whatnot, around the sun, or point of focus up there in the sky, and why it has these cross beams that go right across from it, like a giant communion wafer or something like that up there in the sky. And this is probably the reason why communion wafers have a little cross right there in the middle, like a little tet. So people see this in the sky, okay? I'm not just going to dismiss it and say, oh, well, it's just beams of light refracting off of this and that, and it just happens to make that shape. It makes that shape because as above, so below. This is reflecting a cosmic truth. A cosmic is something that is established in the heavens above us cosmically, and we're seeing a glimpse of it, a shadow of it, a form of it. Under certain conditions, it is revealed to us. There's a reason why rainbows are shaped the way they are. There's a reason why sundogs or, sun halos and all that type of stuff are shaped the way they are. This one's this one's beautiful. I really like this. So can you imagine, right? Now, I believe that let me back up. Let me build a bridge. I believe that our atmosphere will depressurize one day, and that it will blow a huge hole open in our sky. Let me just back that on up. Whenever that happens, a hole in the sky will be seen, and we will be, from down here on the ground, we'll be able to see all of the lights will go out in the sky. Okay, the sun will go out, the moon will go out, the stars will go out, and then the lights that we will see are those heavenly lights, or cosmic ionized gases that will come down into our world. Okay, this hole, let's just pretend like what we're looking at is the hole in the sky. Forget like the sun is there, just pretend it's a dark sky and a hole, a black hole, okay? A dark sun appears in our sky. This will actually turn red. Okay, because we will see there will be no light in our sky within the firmament, but beyond the firmament, which is ionized hydrogen immediately after our own sky, we will see that. So we will see a magenta eyeball looking straight down at us, or a red, circular object, And if you have been taught and you believe according to the academic mainstream model, then you will see a circle in the sky and you will believe that a giant planet is about to crash into us. That's where this confusion lies, I believe, with NIBIRU. When people like Zecharia Sitchin take modern scientific academics and they mix it with ancient cosmology and history. Okay, they're trying to reconcile the two. But in reality, what we would be looking at is a huge depressurization point up there in the sky. What you would see is you would see a large outer circle, which represents an inverted dome at the top of the firmament. I have a picture. I'll show you a drawing that I did of that so you can get an idea of what that looks like. And then in the middle, you would actually see, this would all be dim red. Okay, so this would be kind of like a reddish, like a dark red, I guess. This in the mid, because this would not actually be the hole. Okay, I'll explain this in a minute. This, if you imagine the sun was actually like a hole in the sky, this would be a magenta pupil. Okay, this would be a red evil eye, an all-seeing eye, etc. This would be the actual hole in the sky. This right here would be an inverted dome at the top of our sky. I'll explain that here in just a minute so you can have a good visual for it, okay? Let me just make sure I didn't miss anything here. Oh, here's a recent image of a cross in the sky event that's said to have happened in September of 1925. And they draw a picture. There's many different artistic representations of this cross or double cross being seen up in the sky. The inscription at the top of this image, let me show you, where's the top here? Oh, up here. The inscription at the top of the image, it identifies it as the divine confirmation of the calendar of the Holy Fathers. All right, so let me give you a little back history. Right now, much of the known world goes by a calendar system called the Gregorian calendar. Right? But that was not always so. We did not always have the dates that we have today. We are missing time, and our calendars have been adjusted and manipulated and changed by the authorities, which is usually the people who represent the church. There was a huge rebellion. Many people did not want to change calendars, and it took some countries and areas and civilizations hundreds of years before they finally gave in and abandoned the old Julian calendar for the newer Gregorian calendar. So at this particular point in history, there was much to do. There were protesters out and everything. And I'm going to read you the story of what happened and what they saw. All right, let me see here. Is this the story? Let me see. Oh, here we go. So the Feast of the Exaltation of the Cross came around in 1925. So this happened historically in 1925. On the 14th of September, this is from an eyewitness, by the way, okay? So this is directly from an eyewitness who was a police officer at the time. On the 14th of September, according to the Julian calendar, and many gathered at a small church of St. John the theologian outside of Athens on Mount Hymettos. The following is an eyewitness account. I love eyewitness accounts. Don't you just love it? I love it. Of a man who was present during the seeing of the cross in the sky. And that man says, quote, I was one of the men from the police institute who were sent to stop the vigil that night, some 50 years ago, at the country church of St. John the theologian. The old calendarists were keeping vigil there. So people who supported the Julian calendar, they did not want to change over to the new calendar system. Okay, so there was a huge protest going on because it was the eve of the feast of the exaltation of the precious cross. Since many people gathered, more than 2,000 individuals, we did not attempt to arrest the priest as we had been ordered. All right, let me explain what's going on. So we've got this protest, okay, gathered at this church. It was a festival day. And the cops were called, people were complaining, and some cops were called, and they were told, hey, go arrest this priest who's in charge of this vigil, this protest, to basically keep the Julian calendar, because we're not doing that, right? So these cops show up, and they're like, wow, there's like 2,000 people here, and there's no way I'm about to arrest anybody, because I'll get jumped, right? They'll get killed by a mob. All right, that's in my own words. He continues on, but we sat down quietly in the nearby court, and we waited for them to finish. Wise decision, ancient cop. At about 11:30 at night, we heard a loud and strange uproar coming from the shouts of the multitude. Without delay, we ran to see what was happening. This kind of reminds me of the certain Christmas carol. And we saw the whole multitude of the faithful was in a state of excitement. Some were weeping, and others were crying out, "Lord, have mercy." They were kneeling and had turned their eyes towards the heavens. And yet others were fainting, overwhelmed with great emotion. Hold on. That cracks me up. All right, listen, let me jump in real quick. This will happen again, okay? People are not used to ancient cosmological ideas and fringe theories on our world and the heavens and stuff like that. So when they start seeing some weird, strange, gigantic, titanic, cosmic, beams and lights and crosses and plasma balls and all kinds of strange things happening in the sky, don't be surprised when people just pass out. Okay, they will pass out. They'll be so terrified because their minds can't handle it. They can't come to terms with what they're seeing because they've been taught that that's fiction and that that's not real. Okay. Others were fainting, overwhelmed with great emotion. And then we too looked and beheld the marvel. An enormous, radiant cross, very high above the church, was illuminating the whole area. At first, we were seized with fear. That tends to happen when you don't know what's going on, okay? But immediately we came to ourselves, and forgetting the purpose with which we had been sent, we fell to our knees and wept like little children. So these cops were there to stop all these religious people, and all of a sudden this cross appears in the heavens, and they're like, never mind, we're not going to arrest anybody, sorry about that. Of course, it is superfluous for me to tell you that, filled with emotion, we attended the rest of the vigil to the end, no longer as persecutors, but as faithful Christians. In the morning, we returned to the institute. We told everyone about the great marvel which we had been deemed worthy to see. Afterwards, there was an investigation, and all of us swore under oath that we had seen the precious cross clearly in the night sky. John D. Glamis, retired police officer. That sounds a lot like Paul's experience in the New Testament as well. The Apostle Paul, formerly known as Saul, right? A huge saw the light. Quite actually physically saw the light and became a believer in something higher than just humanity. All right, so that's another interesting firsthand account. And that was, let me go back and just remind you of the year 1925, I believe. And guess what? They took that as a sign that they're supposed to go by the new calendar. So from that day on, they're like, okay, yeah. Looks like God put his stamp of approval on it, so we'll go ahead and go with that new calendar. So they did from that point on. Let's see here. I'm just skimming the rest of this. I think I might move on to this next article that I've got. Yeah. So I think that was about it for that one. All right, cool. Now here, let's get to the point of the matter, right? Now, there's many different other, you could find so many different examples of people seeing crosses in the sky and lights in the sky and cosmic entities and terrestrial beams shooting up from the earth and all that interesting stuff. But I want to explain to you what I believe we are seeing in the sky. This right here is a map drawn by Mercator, Gerardus Mercator. This is his Arctic map, or map of the Arctic. This is the exact North Pole. There's many variations of this map, and this map itself is a variation of other maps that came before it. In ancient times, back before, I'm going to say, maybe the 18th century, it was common to see this island mass, this circular island, separated by 4 rivers with a gigantic mountain in the middle. It was common to see this on many of the maps of those times, right? You can see that it's a valley, right? That there's these huge mountain chain all the way around the edges. You can see that there are these 4 rivers etched out in 4 different directions, or cardinal directions, you could say. You can see that there's a giant lake in the middle, or another inner circle in the middle. And you can see that there's a huge, what looks like volcano, oops, right there smack dab in the middle. I mean, it's drawn like a volcano. It's a split mountain at the very least. It's drawn like that every time. All right, now keep this in mind, this image right here, and let's take this with us when we talk about NIBIRU. This is terrestrial. This is on the surface where we are, okay, at the North Pole. And this is a domed mirror, okay? Now, here is my theory. Not my theory, it's just, it's theory that I am a proponent of, which is this right here, this domed mirror, which you've seen in many department stores and stuff like that, is a type of what exists above us in the firmament itself. So I have drawn an image here, make it a little bigger for all of us. This is just, it's not to scale. I feel like Doc Brown. Anyways, I always get all, I like really good images. I'm kind of a perfectionist. But anyways, so this represents our world, okay? This represents water level up here, and then the world itself kind of, gets jaggedy at the top and creates mountains in the higher areas. There's waters below. There's also open spaces below. I didn't draw all of the inner earth or the hollow realms of our world. And this up here at the top is the firmament, typically drawn as a dome, as a regular dome that looks like a D in shape, and it goes all the way across like a rainbow, right? However, I believe, and if anyone has a question about how this works, I'll be happy to explain it. Basically, it has to do with magnetism and how currents flow around magnetic forms dependent upon their shape. They will change their shape, okay? So if you have a bowl magnet upside down, which is our firmament right here, and a hole blows out in the top of it whenever our atmosphere depressurizes, and you run the electricity right back through that, it's actually going to go up through it, and it's going to create another inverted dome underneath it, just like that, okay? And then the sky will freeze over once again, creating the dome again, and it will conform to the new shape, which is the original firmament, and then this crater in the top of the firmament that faces us, that faces inward. Okay, it's a bulge to us from below, but it's a crater to them above. Okay, now a huge hole blows open our atmosphere whenever the sky depressurizes, and at the very top, this is reflective ice, right, or waters, you could say, and it's basically reflecting this area right here, which is on the map that I just shared with you right here. So you imagine that this is this area. Let me just draw a little circle here. Let's do green. And let me make my brush a little smaller. Excellent. All right, cool. So between this peak and the other peak right here in the center, you have to imagine we're looking at it from a side view. Okay, so this is a two-dimensional representation of this right here. If I could turn this and flip it sideways, right, you wouldn't see a circle, you would just see a line, and there would be a mountain on that side, and there would be a mountain on that side, but really it's a circle that goes all the way around. And then this little bulge in the middle represents Mount Meru at the center, or Rupus Nigra, as depicted right here on this map, okay? Now, up above, it acts, or would act, like a reflective mirror, just like in this image that I showed you right here. And it would reflect what you see down below it, which is this right here. So this oftentimes it's a strong possibility that this is what people are seeing when they look up at the heavens, and that light is projected outwards and shown to us in what we call the moon and the sun and just the sky itself, etc. So this is one possibility, that we are actually seeing this up here reflect this down here, right? So up here, we would see this as circular, even though in reality, this is basically a dome type of a shape. So people will see this whenever it lights up and all the stars disappear and the sun goes out and the moon goes out and stuff. People will see the lights beyond. I'm just going to draw it in green, okay? But there's ionized hydrogen up here swirling around, okay? And people will see this glow. And then the depressurization point right here in the middle, or the hole, the actual hole, I'm just going to draw it in green, Okay, there would be an actual hole right here that would be, let me use the appropriate colors. This hole would be like a magenta spectrum, okay? And that's, you would see the light beyond it. You would actually see directly the magenta ionized hydrogen right beyond it. Now the other parts of it would just glow. So the rest of this would be a darker form. So I'll make this a little darker, maybe more in the red spectrum, and we would fill this in. You'll have to forgive my crude drawing here. And people would see this. So this is the all-seeing eye in the sky, the eye of Ra, the eye of like every one-eyed god ever, etc., and so on and so forth. People will see this as NIBIRU. They might see this hole individually as NIBIRU, or they might see all of it as NIBIRU, but they look up and they see that this is some strange planet, right? Or some strange luminary or light in the sky. And if indeed it does reflect what is below it, then they would have this sort of cross-like type of, you know, as above, so below to it. It's just reflecting what it sees directly below, which is right here, right? Now, there's other beams of light that we talk about here on my channel that are terrestrial in nature. So that we have these lights above. I'm just going to use green, but okay, the hydrogen comes through this hole, which is Medusa's face, comes through, and it comes out, and it spreads out into our world, and it, you know, branches out, and it changes the world and terraforms the world and does all kinds of different things, okay? Some destructive, some creative, etc. But there are other terrestrial forms of energy that shoot upward from inside of the earth, from the central star that exists inside of our world, or from the core of the earth, however you want to see it. It's ionized gases that shoot up, and they touch the heavens, and they create these pillars, or these world pillars that seem to hold up the sky. That's just a mess now. Sorry about all that. Hold on, that's terrible. What a mess that is. All right, I'll just leave it at that. Anyway, so that's a little drawing so you can, you know, get an image of what's going on here. Now, this is going to be very difficult for people to comprehend if they are very adamant about their academic teachings, if they're very adamant about their modern cosmology that's taught through, you know, modern puppets of science, or mainstream science, I should say. All right, here's another one. So here's another good example of a cross seen in the sky as late as 1965. Oh, actually, this is a prophecy. So I want to actually share this with you. This is a really interesting prophecy. This is by Our Lady of Good Success, Nuestra Señora del Buen Suceso. And this was, I believe, a Catholic prophetess. And she had many different prophecies. I'm just going to get right to it. That way I don't have to take up too much more of our time. Well, she goes on. This is a prophecy. As late as 1965, the 3 days of darkness was spoken of again in a holy person in Europe. And this is the quote: "The divine fire and the fire of hell," that's cosmic light and terrestrial light, "will arrive at last during the days of darkness indicated by all of the saints. My luminous cross will appear in the sky. It will be the sign that the final events are close, and will remind all of my terrible passion, so that they will have time to reflect." It's an interesting word to use. "For I shall not punish the world without previous announcement." Ooh, I like that. I shall not punish the world without previous announcement. For more information on that, check out my OMENS series every Tuesday, okay? People who get caught off guard by all this, they just can't see the signs. They're all around us. They happen all the time. All will have time to comprehend the significance of that cross in the sky, and everyone shall see it. So this is something that happens where everyone in the world, for the most part, will be able to see. That is a place in the center of the world. That is a central place in the world. And something like that works very well with a cosmology that looks something like this. It does not work very well with something that, you know, is globular and spinning around, and only some people can see it at certain times of day and other people can see it. You know what I mean? It's very difficult for that to happen with a globular type of cosmology. You can believe whatever you like to believe. I'm not a hater on people that, you know, believe in the glob or whatnot. Nor am I a hater of people that believe in a disc floating in space, okay? Because I'm not either of those. But anyway, where was I? Oh yeah, this prophecy. All will have time to comprehend the significance of that cross in the sky, and everyone shall see it. All will know, even those who reject it, that my cross will be the sign that a Redeemer came once to bring salvation and pardon. My cross will be honored as never before. People will see signs, wonders, and the strangest things that we have all but forgotten about and has been hidden from us collectively time and time and time again. How easily we forget as a society, right? Now, it's been many years since the last time these types of things have been seen, but you have to remember the population of this world is increasing exponentially. Or it has been. The fertility rate is decreasing exponentially. So we may have reached the crescendo, so to speak. But my point here is people across time. These are just a handful of examples. And I defy you, I challenge you to find your own examples, independent of these ones, or add to these ones and contribute in the comments section. This video will be up for quite some time until the apocalypse comes, or it's taken down, or I don't know. But add to this presentation. If you have found your own research, jump into the comments and put, in addition, here's another example of when people saw strange lights in the sky, crosses in the sky, or other, arrows or weird things, giant lights in the sky, right? Here's another one. So this is the last, I think this is the last one I'm going to share. No, there's two more. All right, cool. This one is another account of a cross being seen in the sky. Where is this from? This is from... Where is it? Where the hell is this from? Let's see. Book 3, The Argument. Where is this from? I forget. Hold on one second. I'm going to find out. I want to get you a good reference here. Let's see. Where was it? Damn it. I think it... Well, let me read. I'm going to read it first, then I'll tell you what it's from. But it says here, when lo, resplendent in the heavens serene, high o'er the prince the sacred cross was seen. The godlike prince, with faith's warm glow inflamed. Oh, not to me, my bounteous God exclaimed. Oh, not to me, who well thy grandeur know, but to the pagan herd thy wonders show. So this is a sort of poem that's historic in nature that references a cross being seen in the sky as well. Let me see if I have another one. So it also sort of references another cross being seen in the sky. I would like to know... Oh, here we go. This is what I was looking for. All right, so it talks about... This is a history. This memorable battle was fought in the plains of Auric in 1139. So in the year 1139, this happened. Or, this is the story, okay? They talk about a battle that was raging. There's oftentimes a battle when people see this in the sky, okay? There's oftentimes conflict down here on the surface with humanity, and that's why these are seen as signs and omens that typically put a stop or a final say-so on whatever's going on down here. But it happens whenever we are agitated. The energy in our world becoming it increases, and it agitates us. It agitates animals, it agitates plants, and it agitates us, and we swarm and we go to war. This happens a lot, okay? This is why the apocalypse, there's always a war right before the apocalypse. Mankind goes to war. Anyways, it goes on to say, let's see. Accordingly, at the ringing of the bell, the Count put his army in motion and suddenly beheld the eastern sky the figure of the cross and Christ upon it, who promised him a complete victory, just like Constantine, and commanded him to accept the title of king if it were offered to him by the army. So this person also saw a cross up in the heavens. Let me get to where this is. Auric 11. Let's see, where is this from? Hold on, let me get back up to the top here. Previous. Oh, here we go. It's called the Luciad. The Luciad. Let's look up what that is real quick. I forgot. I knew it before I did the live stream. An epic poem written by Louis Vade-Comoeos in 1580-ish. First published in 1572. Okay, cool. So basically, it's a type of looks like it's a type of poem, but it's historic in nature. It abounds with pictures of manners from those of the highest chivalry to those of the rudest, fiercest, and most innocent barbarism. All right, so basically, it's another reference. It's another historic reference, basically, and it's in poem form. But it's mentioned that these people saw these crosses up in the heavens. Now, this one's really interesting. Ecstasy date, April 8th, 1880. So let's go back to 1880. It says here, Marie-Julie Jaheni says, I see in my son a black and blue rainbow. It's like a prophecy, basically. A black and blue rainbow. It rains from this rainbow when the murder attempts and crimes are being committed. It rains a red rain. On the roofs of houses, the rain remains stuck as paint. When on the ground, it cannot be drunk. It falls with a frightening speed. In this rain will proceed a sign of fear, a cross formed in the rain that bears the imprint of Christ. It produces signs of terror that will not be effaced. The cries of the righteous are frightening. In this rain will perish all who are open to impiety. They will be struck with terror. After 3 days, the rain from the rainbow will visibly stretch throughout all of the universe. This is super interesting to me as far as prophecies go. Who is this? Let me just... who is this from? Oh, Julie... What's her name? Marie-Julie Jaheni. Prophecies for Our Times. The visions and prophecies of a Catholic mystic approved since 1875. So there's many of these interesting Catholic prophecies. The Catholics, and just many different religions, okay, they claim to not really, want any part of soothsaying or predictions and, but they make so many exceptions for themselves in their books and things like that, right? So it's all over the place. You can find these prophecies and predictions from actual approved prophets, visions, seers, soothsayers, etc. They're all the same. They're all predicting the future. They're all telling you or retelling you what has already happened in the past and what will inevitably happen again. They shared their visions with us. Hold on, let me get this down. Oh, not that one. I like that one. That one. There we go. All right, cool. Welcome, everybody. Hey, welcome. 458 people. I'm just, I'm not going to go right now or anything. I just wanted to, that's all I wanted to show you on the screen unless I think of something else. Eric Ibu Elliott says, what's up, everyone? And gave me $5 personally. Thank you, Eric. That's very kind of you. I could use that. All right. So anyways, we're talking about NIBIRU. So let's summarize what we've learned so far. NIBIRU was known as a planet of the crossing, a place where the Anunnaki, or the beings who fell down from the skies or came down from the heavens, where they came from. It was a point of reference in our sky, a fixed point where all of the other stars circled around it, or where all of the other stars or lights came from. If you go back to that drawing, let me show you that drawing real quick. If you go back to that drawing that I did, sort of rudimentary drawing of our world, right? With this alternative form of the firmament above, right? This inverted dome is the moon. Okay, so that's not the light that you see in the sky. That is a projection of what you see above, basically, right? It's a type of projection up in our sky. It may also want to throw this out there. These are just my meanderings. These are my thoughts. This is, I'm sure it's not exactly like this. And I encourage all of you to come up with your own ideas and use these types of models and, ideas and stuff like that to come up with your own ideas, right? Because there could be another little mini inverted dome up here, etc. But basically this shape, this shape right here projects. So any projection or picture or image that you see in the sky comes from an inverted dome shape, or it could come from this type of shape. Okay. But from this type of shape, right, it creates a point of focus because the light comes in and it meets in the middle, creating a star or a sun, and then that light is redistributed down to the ground, giving us what we call starlight or daytime. Okay, so there's two main types of shapes that I personally have found above. Those that act as craters, if you're looking from space, you could say, and those that act as domes. Or for us, this would be a dome shape, right? And then this would be a crater shape, like that, right? This crater shape projects or creates images in the sky. This one right here. This dome shape, I'm getting these mixed up, but this creates points of focus in the sky or little dots or lights. So this right here, if it has a whole bunch of these, hold on, let me not I don't want to get myself too confused here. So this inverted dome at the top, right? If it has a whole bunch of little craters in it, it's going to create little specks of light all over the place. It's going to project, it's going to create little suns, okay? Little points of focus, right? And if it's the opposite, then it's going to create little pictures or little images, little holograms up there in the sky for us to see. All right, cool. I don't know why I brought that back up. I totally forgot my train of thought. So let me get that back down. Anyways, we're recapping NIBIRU. Okay, so NIBIRU is a stargate. I suck at saying things the short way. You know why? It's because I like to build bridges. I don't like to just come right out with it. Some people can handle that. Other people can't. But basically, in short, to just come right out with it, NIBIRU is not a planet, according to my perspective. There are no planets like globular worlds or whatever. There's lights up there in our sky, and we live on a quote-unquote plane or a planet, a plane of existence. And there are other planes of existence out there beyond the dark ceiling that we look up at and we see little holes or little lights and stuff like that. Excuse me. So this right here is an opening in the sky, basically. Okay, there's an all-seeing eye in the sky. There's the eye of God. Electricity comes down out of this hole in the sky. And whenever NIBIRU comes through, many people have speculated that it actually messes up our gravitational pull. I don't really subscribe to the concept of gravity. I feel like it's the opposite of what it really is, which is, buoyancy and density and things like that. So when this opens up in the sky, let's pretend like it's a hole and not a planet, okay? They say it's such a big planet. It has its own gravitational force, and, it pulls on our gravitational force and it lessens gravity. So people like, what's that other guy's name? Hold on, let me look it up. Oh, Velikovsky. So people like Velikovsky, right? Immanuel Velikovsky, he wrote a very popular book called Worlds in Collision and other books as well, where he talked about how he saw in the ancient records that there was a planetary-like object that had a flyby way too close to the Earth. He believes it was Venus. Okay, it doesn't matter to me if they call that Venus or if they call that Mercury or Jupiter or NIBIRU or Planet X. By the way, that's why I believe it's called Planet X, because it has an X on it, like reflecting back to us the land at the North Pole. And also in modern academics, they will call this the ninth planet, the mysterious ninth one, because they kicked out, Pluto? They kicked out Pluto. Thank you, Ooze. Thank you. So they kicked out Pluto, and they say they're looking for the ninth planet. Well, the ninth letter is a circle with an X in it in ancient Phoenician. It's called the Tet, right? Anyways, so this right here, NIBIRU, a hole opens up in the sky. These ancient, these older authors, or more modern authors, but from a few decades back, like Sitchin and damn, I just forgot that dude's name again. I'm just gonna keep it up. Immanuel Velikovsky. Okay, sorry. Immanuel Velikovsky, he would look at these ancient descriptions of this heavenly body, we'll say, up in the sky. Sometimes a body is correct when it's talking about the actual physical inverted dome. This is shown to you in the movies all the time, especially in that movie Nope. You remember that? There was that weird eyeball-looking craft or whatever. They show you that all the time. They show you this to you in that movie Annihilation. I mean, not Annihilation. That one too, but Arrival. I think it's called The Arrival or just Arrival. This is shown to you as well. This inverted dome type of deal. Anyways, people saw this, or they interpret this through a modern lens of academic teaching. And they assume that some space planet all of a sudden just shows up, puts on the space brakes, and stops just before it crashes into us. Okay, this is not like something that big would be seen getting bigger and bigger and bigger slowly over, you know, decades and decades or anything like that. Like how comets kind of slowly appear or whatever. No, this is something that shows up all at once. So they interpret this as being a huge planet or a actual globular rock world that shows up like our world, and it just looms over us. So people like Immanuel Velikovsky speculated based on academic theories of gravity that because this is such a massive object that it has its own gravitational pull and it's greater than our gravitational pull, so it lessens our force of gravity, allowing objects to float. And that was one of his theories on how the Red Sea could float up into the air and how it actually had an effect on the water, just like how people say that the moon has an effect on the tides, which I have an alternative belief in that too. But I try to see the truth in everything. So anyways, people will look up at this inverted dome or the hole in the sky, the depressurization point, and many people interpret that as a planet that is on its way. Man, this is exactly like that movie, Melancholia. I don't know if you guys have seen that. It's kind of a boring movie, except for like the first 10 minutes is awesome. The last 10 minutes is awesome. The rest of it's super boring. It's a good flick though, because it's describing exactly what I'm telling you right now. It's describing this, okay? Basically, as a hole that opens up in the sky. So instead of seeing this as a planet, okay, look at this as being a hole that opens up and electricity, plasma, comes down into our world because that electromagnetic barrier or shield that our world creates by its own electromagnetic field goes into neutral. It turns off. There is no magnetic force keeping back and pushing away the plasma outside of our world, nor is there a magnetic force causing pressure and keeping in all of those gases that are opposed to that same magnetic force. It lets go. All that pressure goes straight to the apex of the firmament or the dome and blows a hole out into space. Everything, all the atmosphere starts to depressurize. Okay? However much atmosphere in weight, right? However much, I mean, the atmosphere has a weight to it. I don't know if you know that. It's not just like there's nothing. That we have pressure weighing, squeezing us from all sides right now. You're used to it, so you can't tell. To you, it's just normal. But there's an immense amount of pressure, which is why in the world to come, you're going to have super strength if you survive, okay? Because it won't be like that any longer. There's an immense amount of pressure just from the atmosphere itself stacked on each and every one of you at this very moment. That pressure will be relieved as it floats up and gets sucked up into the sky out of the god Kronos, who eats his own children, and rocks and other things that get sucked up into the sky. The waters get sucked up into the sky. And this is 0G or zero gravity, you could say, right? This is where the earth will lose gravity. If you believe in gravity, it's going to disappear one day, okay? According to how you people define gravity or whatever, the earth is going to shut it off, okay? I don't call it that. What it really is buoyancy that has been increased. So however much this atmosphere weighs that gets sucked into that hole, all of the weight of that atmosphere that leaves this world will be equal to a brand new buoyant force that pulls or pushes up from below everything on this world. Things will float into this world. Things will float up into the sky. And because all of that atmosphere is swirling around as it gets sucked up like a little water spout or whatever, right? It causes a world storm. So anything that is floating, even a gentle breeze would tend to move those things in that particular direction. Now, this will not be a gentle breeze. This will be an apocalyptic worldwide storm that rises up very quickly and very suddenly and is made reference to in many of the world's religions and myths and legends that I've come across, right? From Mormonism to Catholicism to all of them, basically, right? So that is NIBIRU. It is the place of the crossing over of life. We, being alive, can cross over through that into the heavens. If you're able to survive. You can't just, I mean, you could just jump and just go up there freely, but keep in mind, okay, you'll be subject to whatever's happening up there, which is all kinds of dangers, an incredible amount of electricity in the form of plasma coming down. And that has an effect, okay, that can petrify, that can change, rearrange chemical and electrical bonds and stuff like that, especially because it's ionized hydrogen. There's an immense amount of mud that will just be globularly floating up in the sky. That's when you'll actually have globs of mud and rock and stuff like that just floating in space. That's when that will actually be feasible and possible. Well, it will just float, okay? All the ocean, all the lakes, all the water on this world will float up into the sky, and it will get sucked up and out, and the oceans will disappear and be no more. But all that water will mix with all of the world's all the world's deserts that will also get kicked up into the sky, and dirt and debris and stuff that also gets kicked up into the sky, especially as electricity comes down and grounds itself to our world, and all that dirt and dust and stuff fly up. It will actually be pulled up by the electricity, sometimes petrifying it in form terrestrially, creating mountains and stuff like that, or buttes and vistas and different, types of anomalous geography and stuff like that. All that plasma comes down. The increased amount of buoyancy, which is going to be a lot, allows things to just float in place. And the winds carry those things up and out, which is why you don't want to get sucked up whenever the world depressurizes, whenever our atmosphere depressurizes. You want to hold, maybe you do want to get sucked up. That's what I think NASA's doing. I think NASA's doing that. Elon, they're all doomsday preppers. Like, they're getting ready. They're making sure they have all the right equipment so that they're, the people who are destined to go can go. They're going to leave this world. They're going to go out there and become travelers, fractalverse travelers, space travelers, whatever you want to call it, okay? But other Earths, okay, just like our Earth or realm, other worlds out there that are very much like ours, if not exactly like ours, they will have their own version of their space forces and their fractalverse travelers and their space agencies, or whatever they call it, okay? They probably have a different timeline. Each one of them has probably different timelines, ranging from slightly different to extremely different, depending upon how their society grew and the events that took place on their Earths. But many of them are likely to have their own version of what we have, which is our space travelers. So we're likely to see spaceships full of giants and huge people that come down and land during this time, because they have figured this out as well. They figured out the time when the doors open. They figured out the troubles that they need to get through, the dangers and hardships that lie in front of them, by asking these types of questions, by re-examining ancient scriptures and writings and stories and myths and legends, and so on and so forth, so that they can leave this world, and so that they can choose what type of a world they want to continue on in. If they even land in another world, they could just stay out there in the liminal spaces of heaven, or the heavens, or the Elysian fields, or whatever you want to call it. But they can choose to land possibly in a world that is a blue sky like ours, that has no magic or anything, and the power has been siphoned and taken away from the people as it drains into the hollow recesses of whatever world they land in, and coalesces into an inner Earth star, or whatever you want to call it, energy source, right? All the energy gets sucked in, which is what it's doing right now, which is why we're deplete of magic and power and things like that. Many of them want to live on those types of worlds. Those are worlds that have oceans. Those are water worlds, etc. So they arrive with the deluge. They arrive with flooding from above. And that flooding from above comes whenever ionized hydrogen, up there, comes down in massive amounts and crashes into all of the ionized oxygen that shoots up terrestrially from the worlds that create it. And it rains, right? Or they can choose to be in a red sky. I don't know why they would want to leave if they want to be in a place that's a red sky. You know what I mean? Because our world will become that. So I don't know. Maybe who knows what they want to do. But anyways, they're space travelers. Anyways, that is Stargate. That's what the movie Stargate is about. That's what all the Stargates are in reference to. Is the portal of the sky. There may be others, but this is the main one. Okay, NIBIRU, the place of the crossing. Right? It is not a place that you land on. It is a place you pass through. You're just passing through NIBIRU. Okay, so Zechariah Sitchin and other people translated this as this world has this elliptical orbit, and there must be another like sun out there, and it kind of bounces back and forth between that sun and our sun, and they have to keep on stretching the story in order for it to make sense. And the more they stretch it, the more fantastic it actually becomes. And further from the truth. It becomes more fantasy than actual fantasy. The fantasy is more true. Blows my mind. Anyways, that's the story of NIBIRU, and that's my theory on it. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Are we still recording? Hold on, let me see. Are we still live? I don't see the chat working. I don't see the chat moving. Let me. Oh, here we go. We are. Okay, cool. Maybe everyone's just really engaged. All right, cool. Well, I'm in the chat now. Sorry, I kind of went off on my own little tangent there. But does anyone in the live chat right now? Hello to everyone who's watching in the future. Thanks for coming with me on the journey. I'm sure there's some NIBIRU stuff I forgot to mention. I mean, that's why it's seen that these Anunnaki beings they jump off of that world and they come down here. That's their place of emergence is the sky. Right? There's another place of emergence, which is terrestrially at the middle of our world, where beings from under us rise up and they come up through Mount Meru. They come up through inner earth caverns from the hollow earth, basically. Oh yeah, Lucy Rose is like, yeah, we're live. Everyone's just listening intently. Wow. Well, that's an honor. I saw the chat was just quiet. So it must be, hopefully it's something worth listening to, I guess. A paradox. Interesting. Okay, cool. You left us stunned, Louis Martinez. All right, cool. Well, I hope that makes a lot of sense in reference to NIBIRU. I would like to give everyone a chance to ask a question. If anyone has any questions, not that I have the answers, just to let you know, I just share me with you, okay? I'm not here to plant a flag. I'm not here to start a new religion. I'm not here to, be some leader of some anything. I'm just sharing my path. That's all. And I share the things I feel others will resonate with, or things that are sensible or reasonable to discuss. Philosophy, right? Ideas. Eximical. I'm not sure what to call you. How do you say that? Eximical. I'm just going to call you Eximical, bro. And you got the tet too. The X with the circle around it. That's pretty cool. Ominous. What's up, dude? There's a character named Ominous in my little Harry Potter game that I have. He's blind. Hopefully you're not. Anyways, Cali Catalyst says, thanks for making this all make sense. You're very welcome. Like I said, there's also many parts that are missing. Okay? From even my own perspective, everybody just contributes their walk. That's all. Okay? Everybody. We all contribute our own knowledge, our own perspectives, our own research, however great or little it may be. Nabia, what's up, Nabia? Nabia Yahoo. Nabia Yahoobot says, JayDreamerZ, sorry about my typo. I meant to say the name of the map from Noah I watch is named. You lost me. Sorry. Still lost me. Yeah. I'm super sorry. Sometimes things are lost in the chat. So there's some kind of a map from the National Oceanic Administration of whatever that stands for. Interesting. Hopefully I'll be able to figure out what you're talking about. All right, what else we got here? We got Alex. What's up, Alex? Says, great live stream. Thank you for your insight. You're very welcome. Zulu1 says, polarized lenses to see NIBIRU. Can you see them? Second sun related. I'm not sure what you're asking me. Sorry, buddy. We got Enia Cannon, who says, Jay, could you do a truth in art and examine Bosquet's painting? Oh, if I come across it, possibly. I possibly could. Zemshul. Interesting, Zemshul. You guys are talking to me in pieces It's not helpful. Like, it's very helpful for me. You got to remember, I can't track with conversations in the chat. Like, whatever you say, that's your moment to shine. Like, whatever you say, and then when I pull it up on the screen, hopefully it will make sense to me when I actually pull it up. But I can't keep track of all the the various things that people say. Some people are good at that. I'm just not. Basil, what's up, Basil? Says, well thought out presentation. It really does click with my beliefs on what the world is. Very good. I'm glad to hear that. 460 people listening. That's awesome. It's an honor to have so many people, especially so late at night on a Friday. Commander Hector says, JayDreamerZ, how are you? Very interesting topic. Thank you. Zulu1 says, you can see the second sun with the lenses. Oh, there's like a special type of like glasses? Is that what you're talking about? I believe it. Oh, I'm also gonna join my buddy damn, hold on, I just had a brain fart. My own people's names here. I get nervous sometimes when I do live streams. I'm still trying to be more professional. Oh, Tommy Truthful. Okay, so him and I are gonna be talking and discussing the Black Sun in a presentation pretty soon. Shout out to Tommy Truthful and the Truth Mafia. I like it. I like what they got going on over there. And I'll post whenever him and I have our little chat so you guys can be a part of that too. Let's see. But we're going to be talking about the Black Sun, this is totally related. So I'm going to be talking about Rahu. I'm going to be talking about the physics behind that inverted dome and how there's points of focus, there's projections, and then there's actually missing light. There's places of missing light in the sky. I'll be talking about that pretty soon. Sheepdog22 says, JayDreamerZ, reports showing the sun's rotation patterns are different and the black sunspots are expanding. What are my thoughts? I'd say that's an omen. I'd say look out. I'm not sure. I'm not good when people ask me just general, I'm very good with specific questions, but like generalities, I'm not very good at. Think about this. If the sun can develop sunspots or dark spots, which is ridiculous, then it can completely black out. It stands to reason that all of the sun can become one giant sunspot, basically, right? History Obscura, what's up, Jay? I'm an AI prompt engineer. If you want something cool, let me know. No charge. Right on. Very, very kind of you. I super appreciate it. Stony, what's up, Stony? Says, Jay, supposedly Nibiru will rain destruction twice with its tail on its arrival and departure. Yeah, I believe that too. That's directly related to the Mother Shipton prophecy that I have on my main page. Well, if you're not a subscriber, that's the first video you should have seen when you first visited my channel, was that Mother Shipton prophecy. And she talks about the dragon's tail sweeping by. So this will be, people will see it as a great comet, a dragon, many different things. Let's see. I'm not sure what language that is, so you'll have to interpret, please. Heather, thank you very much. Orphic Metamorphic says, JayDreamerZ, my question is, why do they want to be fractal travelers? For what purpose, I wonder? That's a good question. I can't speculate on their behalf. I mean, I could totally speculate on their behalf. I think it's because they're going to lose control of this world. They don't want to be here when everyone realizes the curtain has been removed and we get like, how do I explain this? I believe that after this next apocalyptic cycle, that the energy in our world will be so amplified. The electromagnetic forces in this world will release from inside of the earth and fill our world with magic or energy to such an extreme degree that we will have supernatural knowledge. Okay, you will have visions. I don't know how to explain this. Visions, prophecies. You'll just have knowledge. The world itself, not only does the world record events in the form of energy signatures, but your brain is only like being used minimally. And this event stimulates life and regeneration everywhere, including your actual physical hard drive of your mind. So all of your synapses everywhere will be firing. You'll be able to basically use your brain at 100% or close to that capacity. And everything you've ever seen or heard or whatever will all start becoming clear. as your neurons make connections that you never even thought possible, right? You become genius-like. And because of that, the people who are taking advantage of the fact that you are not like that right now and you're in a state of stupor, you're in a dreamlike state where you just kind of accept everything, and nothing makes any sense at all, they take advantage of that and they want to leave before it is known, right? Nobody needs to show us. You'll know. Okay. I don't know how to explain that knowing part. I'll have to think of a better description. That's a good question. I like that one. All right. Let me jump back in the chat here. I just kind of feel like hanging out in the chat for a bit. Oh, I got some donations. Hold on. Oh, Eximical says, my name is pronounced Zimshul. Okay, cool. Zimshul. I'll try to remember that. Louis Martinez says, JayDreamerZ, I think some of us could just sit here and listen intently till our eyes drop. Much appreciated. You're very welcome. Zulu1 says, polarized lenses. Sorry, it's late Friday night. You can see it with the lens. I wondered if you could see NIBIRU with a polarized lens. I'm not sure. Are you talking about sunglasses? Possibly. I don't know. I think anything is possible. So I'm going to say yes. I say that's a possibility. Stephanie Cook says, entrancing theory. Great show. Thanks, JayDreamerZ and mods. Happy autumnal equinox to all. Much love and good vibes. Oh, that's right. Tomorrow's the dreaded. In 3 minutes, it's going to be the dreaded 9/23. What? How many people have predicted the world's going to end in like 3 minutes? I guess we'll find out, right? Should we have a countdown? Or something, right? They're always so vague. Something's going to happen on 9/23. On September 23rd. Something. Guys, I swear. Watch. Mark my words. Something, somewhere, in some way will happen. Like, okay, thanks. Christina Newberry says, Jay, I'm glad you're in a better place tonight. Oh, that's very kind. Thank you. And you're on point, on fire. I love the theory. It really resonates. Oh, good. And thank you so much, Christina. I really appreciate the support. Yeah, right. The aliens and stuff. What else we got? Stony says, I have seen it. Awesome video. Good. Jimu. I forgot the name. I'm already forgot it. I'm so sorry. Well, let me go back and look. I forgot it. I can't find it. I'm sorry. Oh, there it is. My name is pronounced Zem Shul. Okay, so Zem. I'm going to try to remember that. I don't know if I can, but I'll try. Zemshul. All right, so Zem. I'm just going to call you Zem. How about that? Zemshul. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see what happens. All right. Where were you? Zemshul says, let's see. Scooby-Doo. Oh, Orphic. Thank you so much. High five to Orphic Metamorphic. Down under, right? You're down under? Zemshul says, there is a BitChute channel with all of Brian Austin Lambert's and Mia's new pair of glasses material. What do you think of them and their ideas? There's also a really good one that I'm subscribed to here on YouTube who put together excellent playlist full of all of their material. I don't know if it's so much, I don't think they have Mia's or Kim's. And I love those two. I do. I couldn't stand them while they were here in this world as people. Well, I couldn't really stand Brian that much. Yeah, I couldn't stand Kim either. But from my understanding, they are dearly departed. So I release them. When people die, I just release them of, I don't want to hold grudges against dead people or whatever. But I love it. I love all of their Plasma Apocalypse material, and I get a lot of information from their material that helps me with my own journey. So I from time to time, we'll give them a little rest in peace shout out. Super appreciate their contributions. Flair for Craft says, JayDreamerZ, Native American knows as the purifier. Yeah, that purifier, that sign in the sky, that is the purifier. It sucks everything up. That's a vacuum, just like in Spaceballs. Ooh, my coffee just kicked in. Ooh, oh my God. Hold on. Oh man, everybody's gonna get excited now. Yeah, the Great Purifier. It's a vacuum. This is the vacuum from Spaceballs. Okay, that's a big. People laugh at that until they see it. Then they'll pass out. They're gonna be so freaked out. And this will literally take. I mean, not literally. God, I've been trying not to use that word so much. This will actually take people's breath away. It will physically take their breath away because all the air is getting sucked up and out. You got to imagine it's going to be very hard to breathe for a short time during this depressurization. Not impossible, but difficult. Orphic, thank you again so much. Orphic, the girl from down under. Are you in Australia or are you in New Zealand? I can't remember. I would love to go to either, really. But New Zealand, especially, I think a lot of people want to go to New Zealand. All right. I feel like, are we winding down? Do I have more questions? Iron Bush. Lots of capital stuff. Let's see. You don't have to type in caps, just so you know. That's totally fine if you want to. I don't care, really. Well, oh, here's a question. Where would the Phoenix event fit into this and the Hopi timeline split? Okay, I'm going to try to figure out what's going on here. Red Kachina equals NIBIRU Red Dragon. I can't. That's too much. That looks like math to me. I'm sorry. But let me try to answer the question. Where would the Phoenix event fit into this and the Hopi timeline split? All right, cool. I can answer that. Let me go to my screen sharing, and I will show you. Boom. All right, so this is the world. As I have shown previously, this is Mount Meru down below. The Phoenix is a beam of what I believe to be ionized oxygen, which is blue, shoots up into the sky. It conforms to the energetic field that goes underneath this inverted dome. I'm just going to draw it like this. And you get this Y in the sky, or this cross beam, or whatever. And then it also has little aurora fields that come off of it. This creates the feathers of the Phoenix. People will look up and they will see the hole, the depressurization point right here, with plasma leaking out of it, giving you a beak. And the anode and cathode. Electrical arc. This is the Phoenix in the sky, or the Thunderbird. And this happens immediately after the depressurization, or not the depressurization, immediately after the polarity flip is finished. When our electromagnetic polarity flip is done and the energy is no longer coming down in this direction, wrapping around our world, coming inward, creating a little focal point sun inside, but it will come up, wrapping around our world and return back to where it came from, right? That's the polarity flip or reversal that we'll go through. Right now we have sunlight and stuff. All that energy is coming down, hitting our dome, creating little stars and focal points and stuff like that. But when the energy comes up from below, everything that's down here in the bowels of the earth, that energy will flow up through volcanoes, caves, and inner earth caverns and stuff like that. And it will create these beams that shoot up into the sky, filling our world with oxygen. The main beam is right here. The Thunderbird, the Phoenix. And this is your so-called Phoenix phenomena. Okay, phenomena is something people don't know what it is. And I'm not claiming to know what it is, but I don't like to call it a phenomena unless I'm referring to how other people see it. I have a theory about it. I like my theory. Okay, I have a good idea. I don't want to brag or nothing. I got a good idea about what the Phoenix is. And, you know, what it physically actually is, where it's located, when it comes, when it goes, etc. So that's my idea on the Phoenix, and hopefully that helped you out. Let's see. I'm just looking in the chat. I think, is that it? We got any more questions? Remember, you got to put at JayDreamerZ and I'll see it like Heather did. JayDreamerZ, does NIBIRU mean anything backwards? I'm not sure. I'm not backwards. I mean, I guess I am compared to the rest of the world. Let's see. Backwards, if we were to read this backwards, it would start with U. So that's the Vav, or being attached to. And then it would be Ribby. I don't know. No words come to mind off the top of my head. So I'm not the type of person that typically believes that like everything has a meaning backwards and it's all purposefully done and everything's all backmasked or whatever. I do think that exists, especially in music and stuff, but I just read regular, like left to right, you know, like, well, that's a simplicity, right? Because I do read right to left when I read these other languages, and sometimes up and down when it comes to hieroglyphs and things like that. Iron Bush says, JayDreamerZ, what do you think about Talbot's Saturn myth work? Oh, I love it, actually. With the Venus-Jupiter-Saturn alignment, yes. Does this connect with your theory at all? Yeah, it totally does, actually. I love all of David Talbot and the Thunderbolts Project and the Electric Universe. I feel like oh my God, they've got such good information. It's a little different cosmology. Okay, they're more like kind of how Sitchin and Velikovsky. I didn't have to look this time. Velikovsky, Sitchin. They're more like kind of like mixing in the modern academic cosmology with the old teachings and stuff like that. And I like it because they're implementing a lot of really good stuff with the electric universe portion of it. So man, I vibe with that. And I feel like their work on plasma physics in the form of cosmic, discharges and cosmic thunderbolts of the gods and whatnot. And I think they may even be tapping into the terrestrial discharges that I mention quite frequently on my channel as well. Yeah, you can tell I get excited about that. So yes, definitely. Symbols of an alien sky. If you're watching this right now and you have no idea what we're talking about, Google that and watch that. Oh my God, that was one of the first videos, way before I even came up with the term plasma apocalypse or anything like that. One of the first videos that was just, wow, really mind-opening for me as far as these cosmic alignments and celestial images in the sky and stuff. And it's mind-boggling. Great video. That's a great little bridge to build as far as having someone watch a video. That's a good one. Thanks for mentioning that and reminding me of them. Louis Martinez says, JayDreamerZ, have you heard about the horn that's being held by natives? They are waiting for the sky to open and a thunderbird comes down so that they can blow the spiral horn. The ranch church. I've not heard about any of that, but it does resonate with me throughout many different cultures and belief systems and religions as far as having a horn that they blow. There will be a shofar, as that's known in, in the Hebrew description or Judaism and stuff like that. They have a ram's horn typically. These are the trumpets of God that are blown. People will hear loud, crazy loud noises. People are already starting to hear this. Okay, so if you're paying attention, you can already hear the trumpets blowing. There's these strange sky sounds all over the place that people are hearing. And how do I say this? Just suppose that some of what I'm sharing with you has some truth or validity to it, and that we live in an enclosed system, right? Which is going to go through a polarity shift, and there will be terrestrial explosions that will rival or surpass Krakatoa. Okay? People are going to hear echoing, booming, bursting, trumpeting, crazy, weird sky sounds. Some people call them sky quakes and stuff. The world across, especially as the gases start releasing up into the upper atmosphere and they ionize up there in the heavens. People are going to hear all kinds of very loud sounds. Man, I forgot what your question was. Oh, yeah, and then the Thunderbird coming down. So yeah, these are all heralds. So this is why we have a tradition of blowing a horn to announce the arrival of a savior, a king, or somebody important or something, because we're just copying what we hear and experience nature doing already. What has already happened many times in the past. We forgot the origin of it. We forgot why we do that. People could clap, or they could do all kinds of things besides blow a horn. Just one long, loud, you know what I mean? That can turn into something fanciful like dun, 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 or whatever. But that's where that comes from. The earth blows a horn. Okay, like this, we're in an enclosed system and it will reverberate all over the place. People are going to hear lots of very loud noises. Yes, please tag me with your questions. Appreciate you. I am Eben. Thank you. Basil Smith says, what percentage of us will pull through the worst of the dome-breaking event? Okay, I'm not going to read the rest so I can focus on that one. Most of you will not make it. Okay, so that's the percentage. I don't know what percentage that is. And I don't mean you. I'm normally speaking to the Good Vibe Tribe. They make it. Okay, I don't know. That's what I like to believe. But this is something that decimates the population. Okay, so for example, they have the Georgia Guidestones that some retard blew up. That says, hey, survivors, attention, keep the population low this time. Okay, it wasn't for the modern world. It was for future people, which is why I was erected in stone and all this other stuff. But anyways, yeah, very minimal amount of people will make it compared to, what is it, like 8 billion or 9 billion or whatever it's supposed to be today. Minimal amounts of people, pockets of survivors will make it. Do you believe the greater antiquities of our lost history survived the last breach? I believe that there is evidence. I'm not sure what you mean, greater antiquities. Or our history. Yes, I believe that there's much written history in different forms, from hieroglyphs to rock carvings to actual written accounts and stuff like that. I believe there's much of it that has survived. But so much more is written in stone. So much more is evidence by the world that we live in. If we just have new eyes to see these things, we can understand. Like, for example, you see random giant boulders strewn across plains where they have no business being, right? We can reverse engineer that and figure out where they came from, you know, all the way back from them being hurled from the sky itself, where they were zapped as mud and then petrified into the air and became boulders and stuff like that. Like, there's a lot of proof and evidence in the world we live in, if we just have the eyes to look around. As far as written records purposefully kept, there is a bunch, I believe. I've found a whole bunch of examples, and they survive oftentimes through word of mouth, stories, verbal histories and stuff like that. But there are, you know, there's something, they're not supposed to survive. I'm going to tell you that. There's supposed to be very little evidence of this because it's supposed to be a reset. But there's always anomalies and exceptions. All right, hopefully that helped you out. Quincy says, JayDreamerZ, do you think that NIBIRU will be coming? Yes, NIBIRU is on the way, in short. Doctor Who says, Jay, when you describe the luminaries as projections, I like the concept, but you lose me. Okay, no worries. So, the stars. When I say luminaries, that's vague. Okay, that's any light in the sky. It could be the sun, the moon, the stars, the planets, etc. But some of those are points of focus. So where the light meets and it comes down because it's being redirected to a point, those are stars. That is the sun. Okay? But where they are projected outwards, it creates images. There is no point of focus creating a little flickering dot up there in the sky or the sun or stars or whatever, but it creates an image of wherever it's coming from. So those are planets and the moon, basically. Luminary projections, yes. I hope that helped out. I don't know if you can ask me more if you want me to clarify. Christina Newberry says, JayDreamerZ, have you found the plasma apocalypse or descriptions or facets of it in the book of Revelation at all? Yes. So in the book of Revelation, there are many. This is all directly related. I really do want to break down the book of Revelation. It's just quite an undertaking. Like, I have massive amount that would, man, like I've been putting that off. I'm going to break down the book of Revelation. I just have to find the time for it because there's a lot in there, and there's a lot of stuff in there that unfortunately has been tied in knots by various individuals and people over time, because there's so much imagery and symbolism that people are grasping at so many straws and guessing, and you know what I mean? Like, everyone thinks that they have the answer and stuff. So I have to figure out the right way to make that presentation. All right. Who else we got? Do I think that the reset is going to be soon? I do. Albin. Very soon. Magdastar says, morning. Right on. Good morning. Iron Bush, the knower, says, JayDreamerZ, I like your picture. That's cool. And thank you for not typing in caps. JayDreamerZ, do you think that the seraphim are only given powers for limited time? Or do you think that it is something that lasts until the next apocalypse? Good question. So we would have to define what I believe seraphim are, right? Because I might not see the seraphim as in the same way that you see the seraphim, or as how they're traditionally depicted. Let's look up the word real quick, actually. Hold on, let me do a quick little lesson. So what I'm going to do is do a screen sharing real quick. I'm going to go to Etym Online, which is my go-to etymology website, and we're just typing seraphim. All right, cool. So that's what I like to do. Boom, scooch on down, see seraph. Okay, that makes sense because the IM is plural at the end. So we look up seraph. in reference to the winged, human-like celestial creatures that hover above God's throne in Isaiah's dream. A word first used by Milton, probably an analogy of the cherub or cherubim. Cheruvim, I could see that, okay. A back-formed singular form of seraphim, attested from Old English and earlier singular English seraphim, etc. This is from the late Latin seraphim, blah, 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 seraphim, seraphim, plural of seraph. Get to the point, website, which does not occur in the Bible. Probably literally the burning one. Ah, that's what I was looking for. The burning one, seraph. Seraphs were traditionally regarded as burning or flaming angels. So let's start with that. I don't believe in angels as far as they're taught and cartoonified by religions, as far as like white men with wings. That's all. You know what I mean? They have dove's wings or whatever. I don't believe in that. I like it. I think it's beautiful and it's fun, but I don't believe that there are white dudes with wings floating around like doves. But I do believe that there are entities or things that did exist that people saw that they described like that they saw as, you know, sort of human-like in form and looked like they had various amounts of wings or arms or whatever. Seraphs were traditionally regarded as burning or flaming angels. Yes, because I believe they're plasma. Though the word seems to have some etymological sense of flying. Yes, because they fly through the air like dragons. Let's see. The Arabic root sharafa, to be lofty or to be high up. Just the plasma comes from way up there. Some scholars identify it with a word found in other passages interpreted as fiery flying serpent. There you go. So that's plasma. The late Latin word was also taken by early Christians in the name of a class of angels. Yes, so there are different classes of plasma. There are different. Hold on. Let me show you. Let me just get back to this little. Where's my little picture? Rupus nigra. All right, so this is very helpful for me. Actually, I want to draw on it. All right, cool. So I'm going to draw on this. Let's see if this works. All right, so this is the island mass that I've been referencing and talking about. Can I draw, please? Why won't it let me draw? That's weird. There we go. I guess. Does that work? Wow, it's like locked. Hold on. Well, this is just glitching out. I probably have too many websites open. So, let me close some. Boom. Keep that. We'll keep that. All right, reload, please. Get rid of that. We'll get rid of that. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Ba-boom. Okay, well, it just deleted my picture. Oh, there it is right there. All right, cool. Can I draw now? Oh, my computer is tripping right now. I hope we don't lose the live stream. Wow, I just started over. Thank you. Okay, well, forget it. Just forget that one. Forget that. Let me just go to this picture. All right, so let's just use this picture as an example. So you have to just imagine, okay? But see how there's mountains all the way around the edge there? So imagine that this island mass has an entrance into the cavernous recesses of this world, and a beam of blue energy shoots up out of that, right? Because of the shape, this is sort of a bowl shape, a crater shape, however you want to call it, right? There will be a plasmic dome, a plasmic energetic barrier of plasma, electricity, that surrounds this entire island and touches the tops of these mountains, which is probably what created these mountains in the first place. And it's going to be swirling all in one direction. I'm not sure what direction that is at this particular moment, probably the same direction that all of the currents flow in this world until everything is reset, in which it'll probably flow the other way. But that current, that electrical plasma, flows around this island. This spot in the middle, Rupus Nigra, is the seat of God. This is the throne of Enki, as you would say. This is the pedestal, or where the feet of that cosmic stick figure come down. Okay? And, damn, I forgot the question. Fudge. Oh, something about the seraphim, right? So basically, the seraphim protect God's throne, and there's these different hierarchy of angels. Okay, so if you want to see angels as electromagnetic phenomena or plasma or things like that, electricity, right? The archangel, the main angel, Michael or whoever you want to name it, would be that beam that shoots up right here. That would be number one as far as the hierarchy. Then tradition says that there's like 4 other openings that also have these lesser columns that shoot up around it, acting as sort of witnesses. It depends on your perspective in the world. You got to remember, this is a top-down view. If I was able to like turn that sideways and you saw 4 beams surrounding this middle one, you might only see 3. So please keep that in mind. 2 beams could align with one another and you would only see the one huge beam in the middle, which is a front one, Mount Meru, and then a back one. And then you would see those side beams. So you would just see 3 beams up in the sky, but there's actually 4 pillars or columns. And then around that, you have these 24 elders that sit around the throne. Now I'm just kind of getting into the book of Revelation. But anyways, there's this hierarchy and the hierarchy is whoever is closest to God or whoever is closest to the energetic source, right? Or the most powerful source of electromagnetism. And these are the seraphs. This is the seraphims. These are the flyer. This is the garden serpent that spirals around the garden. Jormungandr, I think in Norse mythology, right? The serpent that bites its own tail, circles around, etc. Anyways, good question. Good question. I'm sorry I kind of went off on a tangent there. And I'm jumping back in the chat. Let's see. I'm just going to see whatever I see first here. Let's see. We got Dr. Who Maniel says, Jay, do you picture the dome refraction like a disco ball? Yes, very good. In or somewhere around the funnel or event horizon. Kind of lost me with that part. Or more like a movie or a lease projector, perhaps. Do you picture the dome refraction? I'm not sure. Yeah, you lost me. You lost me again. I'm so sorry. Like a disco ball or something. So maybe try to rephrase your question, perhaps. I don't know if I could still draw, but look, here's the picture, just for a reference. All right, let me take this part off here. So here's a reference picture. Control Z. I think this program's frozen. There we go. All right, cool. So boom. I'll just take all that off. All right, cool. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Sorry. Might be losing my voice. All right, so check this out. This is for Dr. Who Maniel, who wants to just get a better grasp on, my own little model of, maybe our local cosmology and stuff. So down here represented in red is our Earth. This is Terra. This is the world itself, right? And then up here represented in blue is the firmament or the sky above. This, I believe, is made out of ice, frozen gas. Hold on. Opposite of sublimation. Oh yeah, deposition. All right, so this frozen gas goes through what is known as deposition, okay, which is the opposite of sublimation. Sublimation is whenever you have like a solid substance that goes straight to a gas, basically. So if you have like what is that called? Freeze-dried ice? Dry ice, right? So if you have dry ice, it doesn't really melt. It just turns immediately into gas. That's sublimation. But the opposite of that is called deposition. That's a word I'm trying to remember. That's why I looked it up. So deposition is whenever the gases, which are way up here in the atmosphere, go from gas to solid instantly. They skip over the liquid phase. And there's many different things that can cause that to happen, right? So these gases in the upper atmosphere turn into ice instantly, right? Depending on their conditions that create that. And it gives us the dome. That ice conforms to an invisible magnetic barrier that we cannot see with our eyes that goes around the world in this shape, right? A hole blows open in the physical part of the dome. And then whenever the energy goes back through, those gases, what is the word? Go through deposition once more. They immediately turn into ice and they conform to their prior shape, which is this major firmament dome. And then a new dome, which is inverted underneath it, which is caused by running electricity through this bowl shape. Since there's a hole at the top, that new electromagnetic field will sort of bounce from here to here. and create a new dome, but it's inverted at the top. This gives you the all-seeing eye at the top of the world, right? Now, let's see. Where was I? I'm trying to remember your question too. Oh, okay. So this inverted dome is like the disco ball, or like that mirror. Do I still have it? No. So like that dome mirror that you see in department stores and stuff like that. That's like this at the top, right? And there are little discrepancies on this inverted dome in the form of more domes, more mirrors where there were holes in this, which created their own little electromagnetic deviations, just like this original one did. Hold on. Boom. All right. So just like, so it's all just replicated and inverted time and time and time again, many times. This is the original firmament, this green line, right? I'm sort of tracing it right here. The original firmament. And then whenever the firmament rehardens and establishes itself once more, we get an inverted firmament at the top of the original firmament. That is like the disco ball shape, right? The light, whenever the light reverses again and it comes down once more in this direction, it will act differently and it will create different products based on what it hits on the firmament in its entirety, right? So if it hits this part, it's going to hit here and refract and come inside, right? If it hits this part, it's going to hit here, refract, and come inside, creating a focal point, which is the sun right there, right? But it's also going to hit this crater on the inside, and this crater has craters inside of it. This is why the moon, when we look up in the sky, we see craters on the moon. They're probably domes. I don't think that they're craters. I think there's domes and craters up there, I'm sure. But I think that a lot of what we call craters on the moon are actually domes because this is an inverted image that's being projected down onto us. So let me show you like the projection. And this is just a simplistic view of it, or a simplistic idea, right? When the light hits it, because of the shape, it goes outward, right? So it'll come down and it'll go outward, and this is a projection. So the light is being projected above us like this. And then you see an image in the sky with all these little domes on it, which is inverted, so it looks like there's craters all over it, down below. So we look up and we see a projection that's the light actually hitting this part of the firmament and projecting outward. But the light that hits this part of the firmament, because it's a bowl shape upside down, comes in and creates a focal point, which is the sun. So I hope that helps you out a little bit. And then this is where stars come from. And so anything that is a picture in the sky is a projection. So planets are projections. Planets all come from this shape right here up there in the sky. Okay. I haven't worked out the exact, model or whatever in specifics, but this is just a general idea so that you can work upon it yourself too. So projections come from this shape, I believe, like a bowl for us, and stars and suns and little points of light that are just points of light, of heat and light and stuff like that get redistributed down into this world. They come from the opposite shape, which is this main firmament shape up here, which is like this, which this has on it. So you have to imagine there's little domes like that under here because of the shape of this structure. Okay, and the light from above is going to hit all these tiny little domes, and it's going to refract, and it's going to either create points of focus, or it'll do all kinds of stuff. Anyways, sorry it gets kind of complicated, but hopefully that helps you out a bit more. All right, where was I? Let me get rid of the picture here. I might wrap things up soon. Where am I here? Screen, that one? Yeah. All right, cool. All right, jumping back in the chat. Thank you, Dr. Who. Good question. I like that you're really trying to grasp it. You know what I mean? And feel free to add to, all of my own perspectives and theories, with your own insight, and come up with your own stuff or perfect it or whatever. All right, let's see. I'm just skipping through the chat here. Good night, Southern Belle. Good to see you. All right, cool. Let's see. I'm catching up here. We got Iron Bush, the knower, says JayDreamerZ. Thoughts on the crater Earth, bigger Earth, moon map, reflection, and inner Earth, and how it. This is a lot of add-on stuff. You guys, I know you're new, But I work way easier when you make it simple for me. When there's a lot of run-on sentences and ands this and compounds and all that. Like I get lost because I'm trying really. I'm multitasking on my side, and it's not as easy for me to hear all of that. Like that's a lot for me. So it takes a lot of time for me to process that. You know what I mean? So let's try to simplify it just a little bit. I'm just asking as politely as I can, please. Help us out here. Help me. And just make it very simple. Okay, so what are my thoughts on the crater Earth, bigger Earth, moon map reflection, that guy whose name I can't say, and inner Earth, and how it relates to your theories? Okay, that's a lot. That's just a whole lot. Plus, it's very vague too. No offense, okay? I'm just helping you out so that I can, next time you ask a question, you'll learn what works with me. You know what I mean? And then you can get a better answer from me, basically. But I like it. I like that guy's channel. I don't know if he still has his channel, but I liked it. I like how creative his theories were. I have lots of different thoughts about different specific things, but nothing really in general. I give him 5 stars. I thought he's a good thinker. I like how he thinks outside of the box. And how it relates to my theories is I think he's onto something as far as the moon reflecting, like I showed you guys earlier with that inverted dome underneath and how it reflects our land and stuff. Very good. Okay, good. I'm so sorry. I feel like when I try to help people out in the chat in the way that they form questions and stuff, I feel bad. I don't like to correct people or whatever, but it's my channel, so I guess I got to a little bit. Barry Kelly says, great show. Thank you. Browsy, good to see you, Browsy. Appreciate you too. Who else we got? Albin in the chat says, Jay, do you think that if the pressure is the reason why the sky is going to open and neutralize the atmosphere, do you think that pressure is the same reason why people are smaller than people long ago? In short, yes. Okay, I'm not sure I totally understand the question. But yes. So pressure is built up in our world right now, and I believe that that's what's shrinking everything. And that pressure will be released, and that there will be an increase of oxygen, and people and animals and all kinds of things will grow to much bigger sizes. Do you think the pressure is the same reason why people are smaller? Yes, I do. So definitely, in short, my answer is yes. Doctor Who says that works for me. You're super welcome. Thank you so much, Linda. Appreciate you. Let's see. Scooby-Doo, just looking for... I think that might be it. Oh, Orphic. Orphic says, JayDreamerZ, I've seen more straight rainbows lately down here, as well as weird rainbows and really wide ones. Does that have anything to do with those domes? I'm not sure. It's super vague. Super vague. It might have something to do with those domes. I don't know. Could be. Remember, everybody, I work way better with specific questions. If you ask me to talk about giants, I'm not going to have a lot to say. I have a plethora. I love that word. I have a plethora of ideas and you know what I mean? Theories and stuff about all kinds of things. But if people just ask me in general, hey, what do you think about the dome? I'll be like, I like the dome. It's nice. I give it 5 stars. You know what I mean? I don't have a specific answer for that. Iron Bush says, JayDreamerZ, theory on 144,000. That's another good example. I'm not sure what you're asking. I like them. I think, I don't really believe that there is 144,000 survivors specifically. I believe that that's probably a generality in number, and it's symbolic, especially from the number 12. But I don't really have any, general thoughts on it. All right. Anything else? Anything else? Stop gang stalking. Good to see you. I hope I remember who you are after the picture changes and stuff like that. I hope you're okay too. I don't know what's going on, but I hope you're all right. All right. Let's see. Anything else? Is that about it? Yeah. So that's about it. It looks like. All right. So we've come to a crossing. We've come to the end of the presentation. Unless anybody wants to say anything, I'll wait a couple seconds. Yeah, I'm very like precision of language kind of person. Like, I'm so sorry. Like, I try really hard to read into what you guys are asking. You know what I mean? Um, but I have a complicated mind. At least I think I do, and I've been told that I do. So I tend to overthink a lot of things. So I really appreciate when people make things simple for me. You know, like especially by asking a direct question or a specific question or comment or whatever. It helps me out a lot. But what if people just say, "What do you think about NIBIRU?" I'll be like, I think it's awesome. I recommend it. I don't, you know what I mean? Like, if you say like, "How big do you think NIBIRU is?" Pow, I could work with that. We could bust out dimensions. We could try to figure it out and stuff like that. Like, that's a specific I can handle. Sojo. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm sorry, bro. I don't. It's hard for me to catch up. I thought you were Sojo, but I wasn't sure. But thank you for reminding me. Oh, Browsy says, just curious, what is your theory, idea, or belief on death? Oh man, that's kind of off topic, bro. So I like it. Let's talk about that another time. I have many ideas about death, but this is not like the part in the show where we just talk about whatever. I don't want to open those floodgates. You know what I mean? Amanda, what's up? Chica, good to see you. Yokohama! What you think about the dome? I like it. I give it 5 stars. It's a great dome. Great show. Thank you, Naga. Appreciate you. What are the mascot creatures called? Mine? I've got Jelly, who is my plasma jellyfish. I've got Torque, who is my tardigrade, which is also an acronym. And then I've got my axolotl named Glyph, which I don't really use that much. I don't know. I ran out of time. I don't have a lot of time to like really promote my little mascot characters or whatever. So, you know, you don't see Glyph a lot. Torque you see sometimes. Torque is right here. That's Torque. And that's Glyph actually. So I guess they're all represented right there. So there's Jelly. Bam, Jelly. Torque and Glyph over there. Glyph doesn't look how I wanted Glyph to look. I wanted Glyph to actually glow with glyphs all over his body. Like a magical axolotl type of wizard creature. It looks a little different than I imagined. Alright, let me jump back in the chat here. As long as you guys keep talking, I'll keep talking. That's kind of how this works. If the chat dies, I'm saying goodbye. Oh, you're back. How do you do that, bro? Oh, you must have like different things going on. Okay, good to see you too. Chaos Tist says, JayDreamerZ, have you considered the concave Earth model? I've seen it. I like it. I don't believe in it, but I like how it works, and I believe there's a lot of truth to it. And I've gleaned from it many times. But I totally am not like one who's convinced that we're living inside and there's like a shell all the way around. I don't know. I'm not convinced quite yet of that. But I like it. I think it's very creative. Let's see. Kyle says, how does the X form on Nibiru? In short, well, you might have to rewind, Kyle. Like, we went over that. But I'll share it with you. So my theory is that it's this. It's a reflection of this right here. See that, Kyle? So I believe that the dome above, the inverted dome, is reflecting the image below, which is the land below. Moon map, you could say. I don't know about the moon map, but the way it's shown by that other popular channel. I hope that guy gets his channel back too. I really liked listening to him. It's just that some things were, you know, I don't know. I like to let information marinate. All right, hold on. Let me get this down here. All right, who do we got? Iron Bush, the knower. I like that you're participating so much. Says JayDreamerZ, do you think that the Surian tablets are speaking of archetypes in the sky or literal beings that entered our Earth? Oh, the Sumerian tablets? I believe that it's both, actually. I believe that they reference actual physical humanoid beings, or make reference to them, but I feel like they also, it's like an amalgam of cosmic discharge and electromagnetic activity and terrestrial discharge and electromagnetic activity with the story of those beings who came down from Nibiru, actual humanoids who are space travelers. So I believe it's both, actually. Let's see. Thank you for understanding, Browsy. Appreciate you. Man, one time I told somebody, like, somebody asked a question, I was not paying attention. I forgot who it was. But somebody was like, hey, bro, I want to send you a whole bunch of money. How do I do that? And I didn't read all the question, but I'm just like, oh, it's because they said it's off topic. They're like, sorry, this is off topic, but, and then I stopped reading it and I was like, oh, I'm sorry. We can't do off topic stuff anymore. And then I was like, yikes. But, oh, well, you know, I got to stay true to me. You know what I mean? So I do apologize to whoever that was. I didn't mean to, like, you know, make an example, I guess. But I don't do this for, like, money, even though it's my job, I guess you could say. Money helps a lot, but my main reason is just my passion. Wheezy, what's up, Wheezy? Says, Jay, you're not alone, my friend. I gave vague questions I can't answer. How am I? I still ain't know how I am. How am I? Man. Good to see you, Wheezy. Magdastar says, Jay, do you think the amounts of comets being seen are connected to NIBIRU? No, I don't. In short, I do not. I believe that they're all connected to the dome, the physical firmament of our world, and how I just showed you, like, the different shapes of it, and the way that light hits the edges of those other domes and craters and stuff that are up there above us, creating chromatic aberrations. Good question. I like it. Christina Newberry says, JayDreamerZ, thanks for an amazing show. You're very welcome. My girl loves the axolotls. Oh, that's cool. Sweet. Let's see. All right. I think we're kind of getting off topic. Everybody's just saying what's up, which I love, but I'm going to wrap things up. I want to, like, really stay on the actual topic. This is not like a casual hangout. I know it's late and it feels like a casual hangout, but I'm in topic mode right now. Thank you for the hard work. You're very welcome. Okay, you're very welcome. Sorry, see, I don't want to be rude or anything. I really want to, I have to be disciplined and I have to keep my chat on topic. Because if I don't, and I just put a comment up there and someone's like, hey, what's up from South Africa, and I put that comment up there and I acknowledge it, 13 other people, or however many, are going to do the same thing. And they're all going to start typing my name and they're all going to try to get my attention and they're all going to want to say what's up and get shout outs and stuff. You know what I mean? So I'm trying really hard to be polite and considerate, but also trying to put my foot down. And then this is the point in the program. If I get too much of that, I start wrapping it up. If I get more, I start balancing these things. If I get more actual questions and on-topic comments and stuff like that, then boom, I have a presentation. And that's what I want, right? If I get more like, hey, this is off topic, or hey, what about this over here, or hi, you know, I love your work and stuff, like I super appreciate all that. But if I get too much of that and you're actually trying to take my focus away by typing in @JayDreamerZ and saying all that other stuff, then it takes time away and therefore value from this presentation and every presentation. So if you have those side topics or like a side question, or you just want to say what's up or whatever, don't type in @JayDreamerZ. That's what I'm respectfully requesting. Just type it. I go through and I read the chat. I'll see that you said what's up or that you live in whatever country and stuff like that. And I'll be like, oh, that's tight. Cool. And I'll internally process that in the future when I go through the chat and I read it all. But live, it just takes up, it dilutes the subject matter. Does that make sense? So I do like all the shout outs. I do like that there's so many people participating and everything like that. I do like that you guys have other questions, like what happens after we die and stuff like that. But I respectfully request, please stay on topic, or I will have to wrap things up. And then we will sort of collapse in on ourselves. And I don't want that. I like it when we flow. I'm trying to keep the flow going, basically. Albin says, Jay, do you gonna do something like giveaways? No, and that's totally off topic. So let's continue on. Louis Martinez says, JayDreamerZ, can we post the timestamp movie when we find the plasma apocalypse happening in the movie suggestions? All right, I'm going to keep on going here. Sean Harris. What's up, Sean? Says, does NIBIRU have to do with blue and red star Kachina? Yes, it does. Let's see. What else we got? Trying to catch back up here. Let's see. Next up, Nabia says, JayDreamerZ, the cartooning of past deities makes so much sense with me. Thanks for sharing. You're very welcome. Mahat says, hi Jay, I have a question. Do you think that the 3 days of darkness are going to be cold on the entire planet? Yes, I do. Good. I've thought about that one. I hate being cold. I'm pretty sure it's going to be damn cold. So yes, maybe not freezing cold, but just I'm going to be uncomfortable. Hopefully I'll be well dressed at the time that happens. But yes, the atmosphere depressurizes, so there's going to be mist everywhere on top of wind. Okay, on top of a worldwide rainstorm and stuff. Yeah, it's probably going to be pretty cold. So there, all that blowing air will be cold, basically. Gary Feltham. Oi, what's up, Gary? Good to see you. Christina Newberry says, JayDreamerZ. Whoa, the X reflection. That reminds me of the shirt that you posted of huge hand and star. Oh, that's right. I remember that. That was trippy, right? Iron Bush says, JayDreamerZ, would you rather get hit with the mana or leave and be an Anunnaki on another Earth? Me personally, I don't know. I'm staying here. So, I mean, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stay here. And I'm going to help out people who survive. And then I'm going to prepare to leave the next time around. So that's my intent at this particular moment in time. So both, I guess. Let's see. I'm not like a favorites kind of person. I like all of it. I like everything. Let's see. Nagagato says, Jay, what was the evidence that convinced you that planets don't exist? For me, it was a video in 2017 by Truther blah 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 titled Planets Don't Exist. I don't have that. I'm different than a lot of people. You guys, a lot of you are getting to know me, but I don't have favorites. I don't have recorded moments in time where I'm like, oh my God, a light bulb just went off in my head. I hate all that. I can't stand it. Like I hear people doing that all the time. Like they could tell me the day, hour, and time they became a Christian, or they got saved, or the light was turned on and they woke up and this and that. I'm not like that at all. I have always been like this. I have always had general feelings and ideas that something's off and wrong. I don't have a light bulb turning on moment about almost anything at all. I have things that are like, wow, like that was amazing. But I don't really have anything that's, I can quote and say, oh, it was January 5th of 1997 or whatever. Like, I don't do that. Just constant research. And I'm not convinced either. That's another thing too. I don't like being convinced at all. I like to be open-minded. I do not like to be convinced. I don't like to plant my flag. I don't like to stop growing or stop moving and stand in one spot or declare or claim anything to be absolute. I don't like that. So I don't like convinced. I don't like favorites. I don't like any of that kind of stuff. I'm super glad that you guys do, though. I mean, I'm glad that you guys have your little moments where you wake up and, people's videos, even mine sometimes, like blow people's minds to the point where they're just like, oh my God, I see everything differently. I've always been like that for as far back as I can remember. So I don't have any one thing about the planets or anything like that. It's just all kind of slowly makes sense over time. It's all just growing and evolving for me personally. Scooby-Doop-Doo. Let's see what we got. Derek. What's up, Derek? Says, Jay, I'm always enjoying your live streams. Thanks for creating the perfect chill environment. You're super welcome. I hope it stays that way for a long time to come. Mahat says, JayDreamerZ, do you think that the 3 days of darkness... you put the @JayDreamerZ that time. I noticed. Very good. And thanks for helping out to the people in the chat who recommended that. Will be cold. Yes, I do. Oh, I think I already answered that question, though. But yes, I do believe it's going to be pretty uncomfortably cold when all those winds are blowing and stuff. What else here? Scooby-Doo. Choo-choo-choo. Just kind of going through the chat. Looks like we might wrap up here. Christina says, JayDreamerZ, sorry about getting off topic. This is like my third live stream. My bad. I'm embarrassed. You're good. You don't have to be embarrassed. No worries at all. I'm still getting to know you. I don't really know who you are, like, personally. So you're totally fine, okay? You're still someone I'm getting to know and getting used to seeing the name and stuff. But you're totally fine. I have to mention this. I'm learning. Just keep in mind, like, I'm not a movie star or anything like that. I'm not professional. I'm very homegrown. So I'm learning as well. I'm learning how you all react and respond, and how that flow kind of shifts dependent upon what I say, my vibe that I put out, how I respond, what I put up there, what I don't put up there. You know what I mean? So I'm learning too. I'm learning how to be the captain of the boat and just steer the rudders. So it's never personal, ever. Usually, unless there's a troll. I'm still trying to keep myself calm when there is a troll, but we've done a pretty good job of keeping out a lot of the trolls and stuff like that. And man, what a great community. That's awesome. Browsy, what's up, dude? Oh, you changed your picture. That's cool. I like it. You got a guitar? Jay, apparently I can ban people for 2 weeks or months. I'll use this power for off-topic stuff. I'll start with banning myself. Nah, you don't gotta do that, bro. We don't even have to talk about banning people. Nobody should be banning anybody. I ban people, but that's only extreme stuff. Like, you know what I mean? People who are just rude and lame and being mean in the chat. You could put people on timeout and stuff. Orphic says, JayDreamerZ, I often wonder if having the fire apocalypse in the winter solstice will be harder and different than having it in your summer solstice. Will it be cold, hot? I don't want to be cold. That's a lot for me to process. I'm so sorry. And please keep in mind it's 12:30 at night where I am too. So that's a lot for me to process. I don't really understand what you're trying to say. Especially because the fire apocalypse, I believe, is going to happen during the summertime. So I don't believe it's going to happen during the winter solstice. Excuse me. Iron Bush says, how do I get a hold of you? You just did. To inquire about doing a stream together. See how easy that was? You just did. I do have a professional email, so go check out my community section. You don't have to scroll down too far. Actually, I might have removed that, now that I think about it. I can't remember if I removed the email address. I have a business email address, so check out the community section. Hopefully it's there. If not, I'll have to get back on that and jump on that. I'm selective about who I work with. I've had a lot of bad experiences, so I don't just work with anybody that offers, but you can reach out to me, shoot me an email, and I'll consider it. Let's see. What are my thoughts on the Anunnaki story being either a repeat or a present reality? Enslaving mankind to mine for gold, which is a huge part of creating technology as a conduit on all devices. That was too much for me to process, bro. I'm sorry. Like, I might have to wrap things up here. You guys, I know you're trying to fit as much as you can into like the little text box that you have, but you'll get such a better outcome or response from me personally if it's way shorter than that. Like, easier to understand. My thoughts on the Anunnaki story being... See, this is also a compound question too. What are my thoughts on the Anunnaki story being a repeat or present reality? I don't believe it's a present reality. I believe it's something that happened in the past, and I also believe it's something that will happen in the future, that it's prophetic. But right now, there's no depressurization and, you know, aliens falling down into our world that I have seen, that I believe. So we'll leave it at that one. Giant Squid 1902, that's a cool name. Says, JayDreamerZ, hey mate, I finally made it to alive. I like you, bro. I look forward to a thorough global cleansing. Do you believe this planet is on a fixed schedule, for example, 138 years? No, I do not. I don't follow a lot of the people that predict the apocalypse and what year it's going to happen and stuff like that. I just don't. I'm sure that there's cycles and that there's signs and omens that happen periodically. And I see that there's validity to that. But I don't go anywhere near people trying to guess when the apocalypse will come. I hate it when people pick dates and claim to know when things are going to happen, and then usually giving very vague general descriptions that could be open to any kind of interpretation. I don't know, that's not my thing, especially mathematically. people who are trying to use math in order to predict the apocalypse and stuff like that. Math, according to chaos theory, says it's an impossibility. Unless you have absolute knowledge of all of the initial conditions of our world, then you could mathematically predict, when the apocalypse will happen. But if that's the direction we're going in, I'm more of a fan of reading the signs to know how close we are to these events than I am to mathematically trying to figure things out, because I don't believe that that's possible. I mean, I don't want to say it's impossible. I just want to say it's unlikely. It's improbable, at least mathematically speaking. And it's called chaos theory. Let's see. Planet is on a fixed schedule, for example, every 138 years. So check this out too. I believe that there are these, I want to address like the periodic portion of this question. I believe that there is truth and patterns to different events that happen. I don't want to call them phenomena. They're events that happen, like domino effects. And I believe that those events do happen cyclically and that they could be possibly mapped out. However, I also believe that these events start changing as time changes. So we're going through a quickening process right now, which means we should see events happening. If you were to map them out, there should be a pattern that emerges. And that pattern should be that they will be more separated the further back in time you go, back to the apex of it all. And then the closer we get to that reset point, that they would get closer and closer and closer together, like birth pangs, if that makes sense. All right, what else we got? Piper Lynn, what's up? Orphic Metamorphic says, I'm down under. It'll be winter for me. Oh, that's right. That's right. Oh, my bad. I totally forgot about that. You're right. You're totally right. So yes, our summertime apocalypse will be your winter time. Thank you for helping me out. I totally forgot about that. All right, what else we got? Nagagato, what's up, dude? All right, just kind of perusing here. Kirkwood says, JayDreamerZ, have you ever viewed the stars with a high-power telescope? I don't believe I have. I've used my P900 that I used to have. I don't know if that counts. What else? JJ Organics. Oh, that's the email. Yep, thank you for supplying that. That's the email. Take advantage of it while you can. Somebody already messed up my P.O. box by sending me a bunch of hate mail. So I took that down. I don't know if that's the same post that had my email in it, but I was pretty upset that somebody actually took the time to go buy stationery and an envelope and write on this thing. And I don't like to talk about it too much because people are like, don't feed the trolls and whatnot. But Jesus Christ, man, that took a chunk out of my energy, dude. Especially since that hits close to home. I used to have my son go and check the fan mail, and he was all excited about it. And then I'm like, whoa, I forgot there's psychotic, whack-ass weirdos in the world today. So the more popular my channel gets, the more I'm finding I have to distance myself, for good reason. What's the etymology of the word NIBIRU? So you'll have to rewind. We did break that down at the beginning of the show here. But in short, it means place of the crossing of life. Oh, you're good. You're totally good. You guys don't have to apologize. I'm good. I'm totally good. I'm just careful. You gotta imagine. I'm not just talking to you guys individually. Okay, each one of you or whatever. I'm also addressing people in the future who are watching this, who have no idea. You know what I mean? I'm also addressing everyone in general. And I'm also trying to sort of be the leader and keep tabs on what I allow and what I don't allow and stuff like that. So you're good. No worries. I mean, I could help out and just say, oh, sorry, that's a compound question and skip it. And then people will get the idea. But man, I hate saying stuff like that because I feel so rude. Iron Bush says, JayDreamerZ, do you think the mRNA potion has anything to do with this event? I have no idea what you're talking about. Sorry. And plus that's extremely vague, asking if it has anything to do with the event. A tree has something to do with this event. Like any tree in the world is divinely connected to everything that we've just gone over because it's all connected. So if people, typically when people ask me, does it have anything to do with, etc., I say yes, because it's all connected and it all has something to do with everything. Giant Squid 1902 says, JayDreamerZ, so you believe it to be more organic and without a fixed timeline? Oh, not sure what it is. I'm trying to figure that out. You're just talking about like the cyclical events that happen? I don't remember our last conversation. You guys got to keep that in mind, please. Let's see. So you believe it to be more organic and without a fixed timeline, like the apocalypse? I believe both. I believe that we don't know the fixed timeline, or most of us haven't figured out the fixed timeline. Some people I definitely think have not figured out the fixed timeline, but I believe that that's something that's far beyond us at this particular moment in time. But I definitely also think it's organic, and that I believe that the universe, as people call it, is organic. That everything is alive and everything was like organic. Ski. What else? Nate Wait REM says, "Hey Jay, are there crop circles that refer to NIBIRU? There's a crop circle with the JayDreamerZ logo. Really? I'd love to see that. I would love to see a JayDreamerZ crop circle. That sounds cool. I don't know. We're not really talking about crop circles right now. Yeah, so not sure how that relates. JayDreamerZ, do you think that the Great Pyramid was a device that had to do with the dome? No, I think that the Great Pyramid has nothing to do with the dome and has everything to do with terrestrial energy that comes up from below. So I like that. That's a good question. Jay, can we see NIBIRU now? I don't know. You tell me. Can you see it? Go outside and look. I can't speak for everybody. I don't see it, though. I know there's like a million YouTube channels that are like, look, this is NIBIRU. Like, okay. Listen, when NIBIRU shows up, everyone in the world will not need a YouTube channel to point it out. Just like that beam of light that shoots up from Rupus Negra, you'll see it. Everyone. Not only will you see it, but you will know that there is an apocalyptic coinciding event that is happening. So be wary when you got YouTube channels showing you, look, oh, it's NIBIRU. It's on its way. Okay, sure. You say so. What else? Isabella says, I love you, Jay. I dream with you. Right on. Sweet. Kimberly, let's see. No. Orphic. Oh, thanks for gifting memberships in the chat. That was super kind. All right, cool. Well, I think it's time to wrap things up. I feel like we hit the crescendo a while back. I just wanted to hang out just for a bit longer. It's a Friday night. I don't have much to do. But I had a lot of coffee, as you could see, in my huge movie cup. This is the Blue Beetle movie cup. I took my son to see this movie because Tommy Truthful wanted me to watch it so that I could break it down with him. So I took my son to see this. We got this little collector's cup. I love these huge cups. I love it. But that was my coffee. So you can imagine I have a lot of fake energy running through my veins right now. And there's nothing else except coffee in here too, by the way. It's just plain old coffee. Well, sugar. I won't lie. I put some almond milk and some sugar in there. So whatever. I know I'm not perfect. I'm working on it. But anyways, thanks for hanging out with me, everybody. I had a good time. Genuinely, truly had a great time. I really liked meeting all the new people too. This is the time of day that I'm usually more awake. I try really hard to do my live streams earlier in the day. That's for you. That's for your benefit. Like those last two videos I posted of like the infinite zoom, which is really fun, which I have more of. I posted those really early. I did those as a premiere super early on purpose so that people on the East Coast, or not the East Coast, but people on the other side of the world, right, different time zones, so that they could participate and jump in the chat or whatever during a premiere. I like to do stuff like that for you guys. However, this is the time of day or night that I'm usually the most active. My brain's on fire just right now. I would love to just casually hang out and talk about interesting stuff, but the chat kind of died out, and I usually work off of inspiration, you know what I mean? So when the chat gets super inspiring and we're all clicking and, you know, like making connections and good points and stuff, like, man, I'm involved. But if if it kind of dies out, then I'm still learning when to what do they say? Not strike while the iron's hot, but like to bow out gracefully, like when we're at a good time instead of waiting until like it's all kind of died out, you know, and people are dropping off like flies and they're like, okay, they're not really saying anything. I consider all this stuff. I'm so analytical. You guys have no idea. Like I'm extremely creative, but also super analytical, which is why I can't sleep. Like I'm thinking about, if I wake up in the middle of the night, there's a good chance I'm staying up. Anyways, I'm just talking. All right, I'm going to take off and enjoy the rest of my Friday night. Enjoy the rest of yours. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. I hope that you'll contribute in the chat. I mean, in the comments section. Especially if you have more examples of people seeing crosses in the sky or strange electricity, cosmic discharges, terrestrial discharges, stuff like that. I find it to be very interesting. All right, cool. So I'm going to wrap everything up and roll the credits. I will be shortening the credits. This is a little too long. So I'm probably going to maybe squeeze, you know, like the smaller names or whatever together a little so they can all fit into the one song. I don't feel like we should have 3 songs for the credits. That was overkill on my part. That's my bad. I just felt bad because I wanted everyone to get their screen time, basically. I don't know. Anyways. All right. Until next time, I'm JayDreamerZ saying good vibes and goodbye.
vast multitudes.
But your power's too wide.
Live at your play.
Who are you in this vast multitudes?
When your world stops spinning and you got no place to turn, yeah. And when you grasp for a glimpse and the things that you never learned, yeah. Then you take a little while to remind you of the one you were, and everything will be recalled, yeah, yeah. Dream a little harder, love a little louder. Everything will be recalled, yeah, yeah. Take me back to the time of 85, yeah. Take me back to the time when you were mine, yeah. Dream a little harder, love a little louder. 85, take me back to the time of 85. When you dream about